There we go. Hello. It is time for murder. Well, to solve a murder. Okay. So, yeah. Last time I left off, we were, we found out our police friend was here. Yeah, we have an article about a revolutionary. We have an article about ballerina that totally isn't a princess. Our friend is dead. No. And we have a paper seal. And Cosmo's diary. We saw in the diary that he was talking about some sort of speckled band dangling from the ventilator. So if I remember correctly, we should now have access to look at that other cabin. Finally out of that cabin. I have to admit, this isn't quite what I was expecting. It's less spacious out here than I thought it would be. This is the most luxurious accommodation.
Yes, indeed. Kazuma-sama was being sent on a study tour by the government. That's why he was being put up in a first-class cabin. Even still, this is about twice as large as my accommodation and steerage.
Oh, thank you for the follow, Fragilitis? I like it.
Really? That must be awful.
No, look over there. Another crewman keeping watch, and he looks enormous, even if he is sitting down.
The door next to him leads to the second-class accommodation. I suppose he's making sure that no one comes in here who shouldn't.
I suppose. Like, people in handcuffs?
Naruhodo-san, you look like a little boy visiting a toy shop for the first time. I would have thought you'd be used to the ship by now. We've been at sea for 2 weeks already.
Well, yes, I know, but the thing is, I was inside Kazuma's trunk when I first came aboard. Ever since then, I've been shut up inside that little wardrobe.
Must have been a very trying time for you.
Please, don't give me that pitying look. Alright, let's look around at some stuff. This looks like a plane of the SS Borea. Shows each deck, look.
The Borea is a large-scale steamship with a triple-skinned hull. What a marvel of engineering.
It's been playing on my mind for a while now, actually, but how is it such a huge lump of metal doesn't just sink to the bottom of the ocean?
Oh, that's really quite simple, Naruhodo-san.
It is?
Well, consider the Japanese archipelago.
The islands of Japan?
Yes, they're not metal, but they are enormous lumps of earth, many, many times larger than this ship. And they don't sink, do they? They've been floating happily on the sea since the gods created them.
Well, I suppose so. That's a huge book on top of the table there. There's a pen next to it.
Yes, that looks like the ship's log.
Shall we have a little look through it?
The writing is so neat and precise. Every detail about the voyage has been meticulously recorded.
I don't expect a rough and ready sailor to have such beautiful handwriting. And nothing. No reaction at all. But I might appreciate the compliment.
I'm not sure that rough and ready is much of a compliment, Naruhodo-san, even to a sailor. Anyway, last night's log is mostly blank.
Presumably that means there was nothing to report.
Excuse me, but could I ask you something?
You little stowaway murderer.
That wasn't a good start, was it?
Alright, let me try instead. Good day, Mr. Sailor. I'm so sorry to trouble you, but could I perhaps ask something of you?
You little third-class lady's maid.
Oh. We seem to have caught the sailor on a bad day, Susato-san.
I am not sailor. My mother gave me name. I am senior crewman Biff Stroganoff. Alright. This thing is just avoid eye contact, I think.
Mr. Stroganoff, about this first-class cabin area.
Here we are at finest part of Burya steamship. For very important persons.
What sort of very important persons?
Government officials. Kings and queens traveling in secret. Many important persons. That is why I am always guarding this place.
Gosh, that's amazing.
But somehow I let stupid stowaway inside. I want to pick you up and throw you in ocean, but Stroganoff is not animal.
Thank you? If I may, I was wondering, is the cabin next to Mr. Asogi's currently occupied?
Da!
Susato-san, did you understand that? It sounded like da! I think it's probably Russian for yes. Or no.
Genius. It is not permitted to visit other cabins without invitation.
Well, it sounds like there is somebody in the next door cabin at least. Yes, it's tantalizing.
There's no music and it's creeping me out.
Could you tell us who's traveling in the cabin next to Mr. Asogi's?
His name is Mr. Grimsby Roylott. He is very important Western gentleman.
A Western gentleman?
Do not think about it. He has nothing to do with murder of student boy.
How can you be so sure about that?
Mr. Roylott is authentic Western gentleman. Such a man would have no interest in lowly student from insignificant Far East Islands.
That was harsh. Could you tell us when Mr. Roylott came aboard?
That is not your business.
Come to think of it, I know we've been at sea for 2 weeks now, and I've been in Cosmo's cabin the entire time. I've never once heard anything from the next door cabin, or even felt like there's anyone there. Well, presumably, since this gentleman is occupying one of the first-class cabins, he must be rather important, is that right?
That is not your business. Alright, we're getting nothing out of this guy, I feel.
Are you on watch here all the time, Seaman Stroganoff?
All time. So criminals like you cannot come in or get out.
I wonder, could you tell us anything about last night at all?
Oh my god, I just noticed his little sash thing is a fish. Look, it fish. I love this game. It is sad about student boy.
Were you on watch last night as well?
Of course.
And did you notice anything at the time? Anything unusual?
Nyet!
Susato-san, did you understand that? It was clearly a no.
I saw nothing unusual. Nothing at all.
You didn't hear any strange noises or sense anything was wrong in some way? Oh, he's glancing off to the side.
I said no.
Sorry? I'm not so sure. I could have sworn that he wouldn't catch my eye for a moment there. I caught it too.
This is enough. I cannot say more now.
Oh,
It is time for me to report to Captain. You must return to cabin.
yes, alright.
Bulkhead to second class area is staying locked at all times. You escape when the lobster whistles on top of the mountain. Or, as English say, when the pigs fly.
Yes, I understand. Good. Now we can investigate this area properly, shall we?
Definitely.
Whee! What do you think this is? It's a very pleasing shape, isn't it? That's the emergency alarm. It's probably best not to touch it.
Oh, an alarm.
It says, press only in times of emergency. It looks as though it sets alarm bells ringing all over the ship and brings the vessel to a complete stop.
Oh, this I have to see.
What are you doing, Naruhodo-san? You mustn't touch it.
But this is an emergency situation. Just look at these handcuffs.
You know full well that's not what the alarm is for. If you were to bring this vessel to a standstill for no good reason, you'd be in an even worse situation. I wish everything would just stop, the ship included. If you have to do something foolish, at least make it something that doesn't affect anyone else.
I like her.
Ah, a trap for catching mice.
Yes, we have plenty of those back home in Japan, although they seem to be using a lump of chalk or something as bait.
Let me see. Yes, I think that's what is called cheese. It's made from the milk of cows.
Cheese?
I wonder what that tastes like. You can't eat it, Naruhodo-san. The trap will snap shut on your fingers.
Really? But
I suppose you're right. You weren't actually going to try it, were you?
all I've had to eat for the past couple of weeks is Kazuma's leftovers. You don't know how hungry I've been in that wardrobe.
Poor you. I'll find a litter snack for you later.
I also want to point out she is younger than us and is treating us like that. That's great. This is it. This is the cabin next to ours, the one the ventilator connects to.
Yes, the ventilator from which Kazuma-sama wrote that he saw a speckled band emerging.
Maybe whoever's in this cabin can help solve that particular mystery. Let's ask.
No answer. We're out of luck, it seems. There's no one in there to help with our inquiries.
How annoying. Ah! What was that?
It came from inside the cabin. Such a high-pitched scream, it must have been a woman.
Stand aside. I'm about to break the door down.
Mr. Sholmes!
I shan't be stopped. When the fit is on me, I revel in kicking doors off their hinges.
Please, wait, Mr. Sholmes. The door doesn't appear to be bolted.
It doesn't? Then how the deuce can I dispatch this muscular urge? What prey can I kick? I think we should go in. There's no time to think about stress relief.
Who are you?
A Western gentleman? This man looks Russian to me.
We heard a woman scream.
A woman? Don't be absurd. As you can see, there's nobody but me in this cabin.
True. The man appears to be the only person in here, but in that case,
who just screamed? Get out, all of you, now! Please excuse the intrusion, but you're Mr. Grimsby Roylott, I believe. Yes, that's me. And you are? I am the one and only, the actual Herlock Sholmes. You've heard of me, no doubt? No. I'm a great detective among great detectives. One who adorns the covers of popular magazines, no less. So I assure you, you may trust me completely. Man uses that magazine like a business card. A detective? I do not trust detectives. Oh, we distinctly heard a scream emanating from within these walls. There wouldn't appear to be a lady concealing herself within the wardrobe this time. So might I be so bold as to ask you to open that small traveling case? What? Don't be stupid! How could anyone fit in a small trunk like that? Well, it's quite fashionable these days, is it not? Traveling inside one's trunk? Don't look at me. Oh my, did you see that, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the case just shook. Leave now, otherwise I'll call the steward. This is Kazuma's neighbor, Mr. Grimsby Roylott. No doubt about it, a strange Russian man is hiding something.
I couldn't agree more. Let's see if we can find some clues before that burly sailor returns.
Mr. Roylott, we'd like to talk to you about something. No! Oh. I do not want to talk. Leave my cabin now. This is going terribly.
We're not getting anywhere here.
I agree.
Maybe someone else who can help.
Perhaps that great detective could get somewhere with Mr. Roylott? Alright, let's examine. Sholmes, what are you doing? Do you have a moment, please, Mr. Sholmes? You need only address me as Sholmes.
That's what I just did, isn't it?
Well, Mr. Sholmes, what were you doing in there? Why, I was resting, of course.
Resting?
Indeed. I was contemplating our sea voyage from the confines of the wardrobe whilst waiting for the inevitable time that you would need to call my great powers of detection into service. Oh! And it would seem that the hour is upon us now. The time has come. Am I mistaken?
Well, no, actually you're spot on for once.
Observe closely. Our Russian host in this cabin, Mr. Roylott, is clearly trying to hide something. And do you know what is the most effective weapon to use against a Russian hiding a secret? Why, the truth, of course. Though it should be pointed out that such methods are not exclusively for the Russians. Right. Can you imagine how the Russian will react when the secret he guards so closely is exposed? Would you like to witness it?
Oh, yes, please.
Well then, what you are about to see may well astound you. For I am about to apply my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. Could this man be a more hackneyed portrayal of a dubious Russian, I ask you? What? From time to time, it occurs to me. Is the fellow dubious on account of his Russianness, or Russian on account of his dubiousness? I really don't think either of those should be occurring to you. Or anyone.
That's right. And Mr. Sholmes, I know this man's beard and dark glasses are hard to ignore, especially on first meeting, but what I once read, it is a capital mistake to theorize before you have all the evidence. It biases the judgment.
Shh! I must have complete silence. What are you doing? Why are you peering at my face like that?
Ah, just as I thought.
Yes, I've quite made up my mind now. There could be no other explanation that accommodates all the facts. Mr. Roylott, I've reached two incontrovertible conclusions. What do you mean? Number one, your true identity is that of a villain. Using those shears, you are about to end the existence of something most dear. Are you not? And number 2, the other conclusion I have drawn, you are, at this very moment no less, in the midst of committing a most grievous crime. Beneath that beard, your mouth quivers with nervous tension as you realize you've been discovered. Does it not?
Oh, Naruhodo-san. Never imagined I would witness one of Mr. Sholm's great deductions with my own eyes.
That was a great deduction?
Nothing can deceive Mr. Sholmes. In a single glance, he can deduce all there is to know about the person.
What? What ineffable twaddle.
Oh yes, I've read about it countless times in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. Now I experience the astonishing impact of his great deduction firsthand. This is like a dream come true.
I can hardly believe it, but all the color has drained from Mr. Roylott's face. Looks like somehow both of Mr. Sholmes' conclusions were right. How could you? How could I possibly know such things, you wish to say? Very well then. I shall elucidate. I'm going to mess that word up a lot. I shall explain how it was that I arrived at this pair of conclusions. So, do I cordially invite you upon a journey of logical discovery. Let us board the train of reasoning. But plainly, let's work through my deductions together. Oh my god. This is great. So, the dubious-looking Russian, Mr. Roylott, obviously what catches the eye in the first place is the enormous pair of shears in your hand. Now we ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer, of course, is staring us in the face. You are on the verge of using the shears to cut away the copious beard you sport. Now, moving on. The question then is begged is this. Why would you desire to rid yourself of this magnificent beard, Mr. Roylott? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed light on the matter. Regard, if you will, this morning's newspaper. In particular, the fascinating front page article. Which, it would appear, you have read also, Mr. Roylott. I'm sure it needs no further clarification. The evidence that reveals your true identity is the article about the revolutionary. In translation, the headline reads, Revolutionary Villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. As you cannot fail to observe, the subject of the article possesses an extremely copious beard. Having noted the article yourself, you decided to remove your incriminating facial hair before it gave you away. In short, your true identity is beyond doubt. You are the fearsome Russian revolutionary himself, Villain Bolshevik. Not that I've heard of you myself, you understand. Now, as for my second conclusion. You are, at this very moment, on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. And the proof of this crime? Over there. Oh yes, Mr. Roylott. Taken unawares, people have a propensity to let their eyes stray, you see. And I assure you, the eyes speak so much more eloquently, and honestly, than the mouth. The answer we seek lies where the furtive glance falls. The proof of your crimes is before our very eyes. Yes, that traveling case. It is time, I think, that the case be opened and its contents laid bare. No, I refuse. What could you possibly be concealing inside, we ask? By my estimation. A young lady, perhaps? One slight enough to fit therein. Don't be absurd. And what, pray, would be the identity of this young lady in the traveling case? Dear me. We're not well suited to a life of crime, are we? You're careless coup d'oeil? I think that's what that says. Coup duel betrays you. Once again, we need only follow your furtive glance to find the answer. Yes, the reason you refuse to open your traveling case can equally be found in the pages of this newspaper. But there is another most stimulating article. If we turn from the fleeing revolutionary to the back page... Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. Such a headline can lead us to but one conclusion. Your crime is that of abduction. According to the article, the young lady's name is Nikolina Pavlova. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this Russian enigma, Elemensky. Susato-san, that wasn't one of the great deductions I've been hearing so much about, was it?
Well, the stories are full of Mr. Sholmes's brilliant deductions, you know? But that did seem a little different somehow. Excuse me, Mr. Sholmes, could you come over here a moment?
Pray, what can I do for you? It's about your deductions. Would you mind? Not at all, go on. Well, to start with, there's the newspaper article. I think we had the same discussion before, but these two men look nothing like each other. Ah, yes, I recall our discussion earlier, and at the time, I believe I told you that the man is a revolutionary. Well able to revolutionize his own appearance.
In fairness to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Roylott does look more like this man than you do.
That's not the point. And another thing, part about him abducting the ballerina? Indeed, a truly startling revelation. At first glance, the case would appear too small to accommodate a young woman. Not just at first glance, it is too small, clearly. It'd be like if you fit a 5-year-old child into that case, even if you pushed really hard.
I don't suppose the missing ballerina is a 5-year-old child, is she?
You mean you don't know? No, the young lady is 15. No, I didn't know. How could I?
Well, if she's 15, then 10 years worth of her would be poking out from the case.
Some years ago, I read something pertinent, I believe. A troop of men consuming vinegar daily in order to promote a certain liveliness in their bodies. Vinegar? For such a sour bunch, it would surely be simplicity itself to contort oneself into the confines of that small case.
Oh dear. You might be thinking of contortionists in the circus, Mr. Sholmes.
Ugh. The whole thing is turning into a circus.
Mr. Naruhodo, some things occurred to me about Mr. Sholmes' deductions just now. I think his powers of observation are, well, magical. His eyes cut to the heart of a matter almost instantly. It's just where he directs his attention and his logic that seem a little off.
Your idea may be a little off itself, Miss Susato.
It's just one or two key words in his deductions that seem to let him down. So I was wondering if we might perhaps tactfully switch them for alternatives. What do you think?
Switch some keywords in his deductions.
Yes, but very tactfully. I feel sure if we could do that, we'd unlock the true genius of Mr. Sholmes' great deduction.
Precisely the thought that was going through my own mind. This man is a lot of work. At times I wonder how anyone puts up with me. It's not that funny. Ah, and you, my good fellow. Sorry? Take a moment to look at your wrists. My wrists?
Where are your handcuffs?
Huh? How did... I felt they may hinder your ability to follow me in our dance of deduction. I don't believe it.
Mr. Sholmes, you are a marvel.
And don't worry, I shall restore the shackles to your wrists when we are finished. I'm not worried. In fact, I'd rather stay like this. So, let us begin. Sherlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Course correction. So, the dubious-looking Russian, Mr. Roylott, obviously what catches the eye in the first place, is the enormous pair of shears in your hand. Now we ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer, of course, is staring us in the face. I'm a virgin using the shears to cut away the copious beard you sport. Aha!
I'm not sure. Would you really use shears like that to cut off a beard?
I doubt that's something I'll ever have to worry about. Doesn't quite sit right with me, though.
Doesn't seem to be sitting right with Mr. Roylott either.
It means, I suppose, that the deduction is wrong.
Let's try to switch a keyword here, Naruhodo-san, and see if it helps matters.
Alright, but how?
I think we start by taking a long, hard look at Mr. Roylott.
I wonder if it's really his beard that he intended to use those shears on.
Exactly. If we do manage to find something that seems to fit the sense of Mr. Sholmes' deduction better,
then what?
Then I'll leave the rest in your capable hands, Naruhodo-san.
Why am I the one to do something about this? Well, anyway, let's see if there's anything we could even use to switch around that lessons. What exactly was Mr. Roylott really going to use those enormous shears for? Huh.
Yes!
Alright, that was cool. Oh my god, I'm snapping too. Alright, this is good. You are on the verge of using the shears to cut away the golden locks you sport. Ah, indeed. You have identified the precise detail I was intending to expose. Such lush golden hair certainly does not befit an old man. You're not a man at all, you're a woman, and judging from the length and sheen of your hair, one's still very much in her youth. Oh no.
Only I had managed to cut off my hair, no one would have suspected.
The question then begs this: why would you desire to rid yourself of these magnificent locks? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed the light on the matter. We've seen this before. The evidence that reveals your true identity is the article about the revolutionary. Hold up. Well, that was a shock. No idea the young man was really a young woman in disguise, did you? What? Why are you staring at me like that?
Yes, it was a surprise, Naruhodo-san. You're enjoying this, aren't you?
Sorry?
You look like you're in your element as you dance around the room deducing the facts with Mr. Sholmes.
I'm just doing what we agreed. I'm not having fun or anything. This is strictly business, not strictly... Yes, I understand. Say no more. Well, anyway, let's focus on this next part of Mr. Sholmes' deduction, shall we? The evidence that he's picked out doesn't fit the facts at all now.
No, that's true, given that Mr. Roylott is actually a woman.
Exactly. He, or rather, she, can't possibly be this merciless revolutionary.
I suppose it's because the deduction as a whole has taken a different direction now.
Yes.
Let's switch the evidence for something else. Something that fits the facts as we now understand them.
For some reason, this woman needed to try to hide her true identity. I feel as though I've either read or heard about a young woman in a situation like that recently. Alright, I'll do my best.
Yes!
The evidence that reveals your true identity is, of course, the article about the ballerina. That's right. You've hit the nail on the head.
Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. It would appear we are finally able to address you by your true name. Yes, because your true identity is that of the Novovich Ballet's prima ballerina. Miss Nikolina Pavlova. Ah! Oh. Scissors. You're right. My real name is Nikolina Pavlova. But please, I beg you, don't tell anyone. Solved. That's a rather awkward conclusion now. You are at this very moment on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. This is gonna be really funny. And that's another confusion. The traveling case is not the crime. This woman is the ballerina, and she's right in front of our eyes, so clearly she can't be inside that traveling case as well. No, that's right. It seems she wasn't abducted at all. In which case, what's the crime this young woman is apparently committing? Ah, I see. I can see I'm gonna have to step in and fix the great detective's mistake again. You seem to look pleased, Naruhodo-san. Do you like the idea of another chance to dance around with Mr. Sholmes? Stop it. Anyway, there must be something else that shows what this woman is up to. Oh, what's this?
Yes!
The proof of your crime is surely this tiara. Ah! I believe this tiara is worn on stage by dancers in the Novovich Ballet, is it not? Indeed, it would appear to be identical to the tiara pictured here in this newspaper article. And if the reporting is to be believed, it's an item worth 20,000 rubles. In summary, the crime you have committed is theft. Oh no. So you left your ballet troupe, unlawfully taking the precious tiara with you. Ah! I have no one, no family, no friends. I am all alone, and I need money. But I did not steal the tiara. It was a present from, how do you say, an Earl of Prussia. It belongs to me. This girl is only 15 years old and she's run away all by herself. She must have been extremely lonely. Alright, I will tell you everything. There is no point in hiding it now. Come, let us not be hasty. What? There remains one unsolved mystery about you. Mystery? What do you mean? You have stoutly refused to open this traveling case of yours in our presence. It is reasonable to conclude, therefore, that there exists some reason why you wish it to remain closed. But not so, Miss Pavlova. My dear girl, there is no sense in playing games with me. Nothing escapes my attention. Indeed, I have a very good idea of the contents of your case even before I have ever laid eyes on them. Dear me. You're not well suited to a life of crime, are we? Yep. That's all the conclusion.
Yes. The reason why you refuse to open your case is written in the books on the shelf. He's completely changed tack with his deduction now.
And Mr. Sholmes is adapting his logic to the changing circumstances, don't you say?
Maybe, but why has he suddenly brought the bookshelf into all of this? This is a wild guess, surely.
Oh, do you think so?
Well, it doesn't seem likely that the reason why this young woman doesn't want to open her case would have been written in a book that doesn't even belong to her.
Yes, that's true, but still, Miss Pavlova certainly did cast her eyes in that direction. I noticed it myself.
There has to be another reason why she won't open her case. It must be somewhere in the same area if that's where her gaze was involuntarily drawn.
I agree, that's the only answer.
Whatever she has hidden in that case will be revealed by following her gaze in the direction of the bookcase. Oh, the rules of passage.
Yes!
Yes. The reason why you refuse to open your case is written in the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Inside that case of yours is something forbidden from the carriage on this vessel. That is the real reason why you refuse to open it, thus revealing its contents. As we've seen, the trunk wobbles from time to time. But no weapons or other dangerous item would move of its own accord. Which leaves but one possibility, Miss Pavlova. Inside your traveling case is the last item listed as forbidden on the vessel's rules of passage. A pet. Solved. That was amazing. I love how Rinosuke just went along with all of that. So clearly, you aren't who you said you were.
No, I am not Grimsby Roylott. My real name is Nikolina Pavlova. Everything you said was correct.
You absconded during one of your ballet company's performances in order to escape your homeland. Later that same night, you stole aboard this vessel. Which couldn't have been easy. The Borea is a huge steamship with a vast crew. Could she really have snuck on board without being noticed? In order to obscure your true identity, you somewhat recklessly took the guise of an old gentleman, and you intended to sever all links with your past by severing your long hair. Yet to a woman, hair is no trifling matter. My personal recommendation is to leave well alone. So, if it was just you about to cut off your own hair, who was it that let out the scream we heard from outside the cabin? That veritable tinkling of a bell by none other than this young lady, naturally. Like a full set of pipes, if you ask me.
I was so scared when I ran away in Shanghai. I was sure they would come looking for me. That's why I decided to, how do you say, disgust myself? So no one would recognize me. As a result, you transformed yourself into that crestable old man. I see. I put on the fur hat and fake beard. Just before you came in here, I saw it in the newspaper. Right on the page, there was a picture of me. I was so frightened, I couldn't stop from screaming. I knew that if I didn't change my appearances completely, they would find me. So I decided to cut all my hair as fastly as possible. I picked up the scissors in my hand and... At that precise moment, we walked in through the annoyingly unlocked cabin door. Things happen like that sometimes, don't they? Things do indeed happen like that from time to time.
Are those two even talking about the same thing?
There's just one more thing I'd like to know. What exactly do you have inside your traveling case? You were right. It is my dear friend inside. My only friend in the whole world. Please, don't tell anyone. If the captain finds out, if you say to any of the crew.
Your secret is safe with us, I assure you, but in return, you must tell us in as much detail as you can muster about the events of last night.
Yes, alright, I will tell you. Mr. Naruhodo? Wasn't it something Mr. Sholmes' great deduction?
It was certainly something, yes. Just not entirely sure what, but at least Miss Pavlova agreed to tell us what she knows. That's incredible. Indeed, it is incredible. Ah, and one more thing. Oh, yes? What? Observe your wrists. My...
Your hands are cuffed again.
What? But how? True to my word, I've restored your shackles. When and why?
There is still a shadow of guilt cast over you, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sorry to say. Can't be helped at the moment. Can it? Really? Anyway, let's listen to what Miss Pavlova has to say. I can't go on not knowing. I have to find out what the Speckled Band that Kazuma-sama wrote about in his diary really was.
Did you know that someone was killed in the cabin next door to this one last night?
One of the crewmen told me this morning when I was eating breakfast.
The man who died, he was a friend of mine.
Oh.
That's why we're trying to figure out what happened. Did you notice anything unusual last night?
Perhaps you heard a strange noise, for example. Perhaps people talking.
Perhaps the ship was absorbed in a wild tempest. Perhaps its steam engine exploded. Perhaps everyone on board would have noticed if that had happened.
Miss Pavlova, is there anything you can tell us? I don't know. I'm sorry, but all I could think about last night was what I had done and whether they would find me. I didn't notice anything that was happening around me.
Oh, I see. You've run away from your ballet company, haven't you? The Novovich Ballet?
Yes. I am traveling to Great Britain, and from there I want to go to America. I will never dance again. I want to forget everything about the ballet. I will start a new life.
You wish to forget? Challenging proposition. And you have that striking tiara as a reminder.
But the tiara is mine. I need it to live. I have no money of my own. The Novovich Ballet gives us only a little food and water. We must dance all over the world. I had to run away. I had no choice. If I stayed, it would have killed me. You ran away to protect yourself? Yes, and the crew of this ship. They have all been kind to me. They let me come on board. They said I could hide in this cabin.
If that is indeed the truth, Miss Pavlova, creates a most interesting conundrum.
Yes, it does. What do you think about it, Mr. Naruhodo?
Me? Oh, well, yes, of course. We should hear Miss Pavlova's explanation. To what conundrum, I'm not sure, but... Miss Pavlova, allow me to pose you a riddle. According to this newspaper, it was only yesterday that you absconded from the ballet. Now, that being the case, it must have been last night that you boarded this vessel.
However, SS Boya stopped by no port last night. Oh, that's it, of course! So, how is it, pray, that you come to be aboard? Now that I think about it, the crewman outside the cabin acted very strangely when we mentioned that. It was just after we asked him about when the occupant of this cabin came aboard.
That is not your business.
Yes, you're right. He did seem to be hiding something. An angel descended from the heavens, bringing grace and beauty to the stage. Sorry, what was that? It is how the Russian newspapers described one of my performances. And that is how I came here too. I descended from the heavens, because I am an angel. Considering English isn't your mother tongue, your description is very vivid. Mr. Sholmes once said I can never resist a touch of the dramatic. It seems Miss Pavlova is the same. A genius descended from the heavens, bringing grace and beauty to the detection. Once was said about myself. Quote from a wonderfully extravagant advertisement for the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, in fact. Yes, Mr. Showy. Anyway, it doesn't look like Miss Pavlova is going to tell us what really happened. So the friend you mentioned is inside your traveling case, is that right? I don't think animals are allowed on board according to the rules of passage. Oh, please, don't tell. Don't tell any of the crew. If they found my precious... Then the burly Russians would bestir themselves in unison to throw you and your case overboard, no doubt. Ah! So reassuring, Mr. Sholmes. But what sort of pet is your friend? A little puppy? It is, isn't it? Maybe an adorable little rabbit? Mm-mm. Ha! You credit Russia as a land of small rabbits, do you? Oh, don't they have small rabbits there then? You may well ask. I have no idea. Ha! You two are miserable bunglers when it comes to understanding the nature of young ballerina's friends. Isn't it obvious? It must be a chicken. Really? Consider the benefits. A rousing wake-up call, daily fresh air, and when adversity strikes, it could satisfy the needs of sustenance. So you'd eat your friends. I'll remember that. Well, it would appear this friend's identity is a close guarded secret not to be revealed. She obviously doesn't quite trust us yet. There's something I should like to show her, I think. She might be able to shed some light on it. Alright, so we go to present. Sholmes. I love Sholmes too. He's so good. Alright, I think it's this. This is the diary of my friend who passed away. His diary? Yes, and he wrote in it last night before he died. Something a little unusual. It reads 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. And a few minutes later, 1:35 a.m., what looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. A speckled band? I don't understand. It's strange, isn't it? But the ventilator he mentions joins this cabin, you see. It's up there on the wall. In other words, this cabin and the victim's cabin are connected together. Oh! Miss Pavlova, has something occurred to you? Does the speckled band the victim mentioned mean something to you? Or the whistling sound, perhaps? No. I don't know anything. Oh. Oh shit. Excuse me, Mr. Roylott. Yes, what?
Wow, she's fast! Captain would like to speak with you. You must come to Captain's quarters at once. Please.
Alright, I will come now.
What?
You must leave. Now. Oh, no, it's fine. Don't mind us. Yes, please don't worry yourself, Mr. Royland.
Get out! The passenger said out! Or do you want me to throw you out?
Ugh. Looks like we'll have to leave investigating this cabin until later. What a pity.
And so we lost our chance. Having still not managed to investigate Miss Pavlova's cabin, we were unceremoniously chased out. That is to say, we were quite literally picked up and thrown into the passageway outside. To be continued. Are we going to have part 2 to Investigation Part 1? My god. This game likes to draw things out. Yep, Investigation Part 2. Cool. I was hoping we'd get to Trial Part 1 today, but this might take another 2 hours.
I wish we hadn't been thrown out like that.
I wish we'd managed to find some clue as to what that speckled band might be. Oh, you'll see. Oh, good.
We didn't manage to investigate at all. And I imagine that we won't be able to for a while longer. We'll never get past that sailor guarding the door.
He's clearly glaring at us as if to say don't even think about it.
Oh, wait a minute! What is it?
Well, what happened to our great detective friend? Where did he go?
Oh yes, he's completely disappeared.
When did he do that? Also, yeah, when did he do that?
He slipped away as quietly as the wind, but not before ensuring these were securely back on my wrists.
He's not gonna speak with us, is he?
Really wish we'd had a chance to look around at Miss Pavlova's cabin.
What? Why you look like that? You want something? Maybe you want me to throw you out again?
Oh, no, definitely not that.
Next time I have to throw you out, I show you where lobsters spend winter. Understand?
Understand. Maybe I should steer clear of him until he's forgotten my face. I don't think he'll ever forget your face, Naruhodo-san.
Also, she is able to read my mind and it's terrifying me.
The book on top of the table there really is huge. There's a pen with it too. Yes, I'm sure that's a shiplog.
Shall we have a little look through it? I thought we already looked at this. Yeah, we already looked at this.
Anyway, look here. Last night's log is mostly blank.
Maya could always read Nick's thoughts. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so it was the same thing. It was just not marked because we didn't get the reaction from the sailor this time, I guess?
That door leads to the second class area.
It's locked. I can't open it.
No, well, that stands to reason. No one wants to let the murderer escape.
Gosh, she gave me a very stern look when she said that. Alright, so we got that. Oh, we can look at our door. First class cabin number 1. Yes, that's our cabin.
Not our cabin, it's Kazuma-sama's.
Sorry?
Your accommodation is confined to the wardrobe inside the cabin.
You know how to make a stowaway feel small, don't you? Well, it's the wardrobe I've been calling home. Anyway, I wonder if Inspector Hosonaga has managed to uncover any new clues.
Yes, we should probably find him and ask.
Alright, back into the cabin then. Looks like they're still investigating in here.
Yes. On that subject, I wonder if Inspector Hosonaga is unscathed.
What do you mean unscathed?
Surely you haven't forgotten, have you, Naruhodo-san? Don't you remember what he said about allowing you out of this cabin to investigate? He was going to talk to the captain about it. He said he'd lay his life on the line for you.
Oh, yes. I'm sure he was exaggerating. Let's see what he has to say for himself. Might have some new information for us. You never know. First off, you there. What is your name? You. Where did you go? Oh, sorry. I just went to the nest. Why? Who gave you permission for this? Well, Seaman Hosonaga did. And no Japanese, was it? Later, I will roll him into a ball and throw him in cold room. Whew. Gone back to guarding the door.
I hope Inspector Hosonaga does not find himself in too much trouble for our account.
He's really gone out of his way to help us, hasn't he? When we get back to Japan, we'll have to take him for steak at La Carnival.
That could be a very long time from now, Naruhodo-san.
Alright. Oh. Alright. These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Burya.
Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden.
So bring her pet on board. Miss Pavlova has broken the rules.
She called it her friend, didn't she?
Yes, although we don't know what form this friend takes as yet.
I'm almost certain that whatever it is, it's inside the traveling case in her cabin.
A friend. Harder this than it seems, I think. It's clear these letters are written with the ink that was somehow spilt on the floor, and they spell the Russian word for wardrobe.
It does seem to be an unambiguous pointer to you, Naruhodo-san, as you were sleeping in there.
But to be truly unambiguous, it should have just spelt out my name, don't you think?
Well, either way, one fact remains. It's hard to imagine that Kazuma-sama would have written his last words, or word, in Russian.
Begs the question of who did write it. This is where Kazuma spent his final moments writing his diary.
1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill.
Looking at his writing here on this page, it's almost impossible to believe that he's gone.
Kazuma-sama left us a valuable clue in these words, I'm sure of it. We have to solve this mystery, Naruhodo-san.
We will. Oh, there's Nobunaga. Hey, buddy. You're back. Inspector.
What happened to you? Your face is...
Please, don't worry about it. They're just scratches. Made by a bear, maybe? When I told the captain that I'd given you permission to investigate, he told me he'd pummel me with his fists and then toss me overboard. What? But the pummeling was over in a flash, and he must have decided against throwing me overboard. So it was nothing, really. Looks like he wasn't joking when he said he'd lay his life on the line if he had to.
Well, thanks to your efforts, we now know a little about the neighboring cabin.
Yes, so I understand.
Oh!
I bumped into a man claiming to be a great detective a little while ago. I think his name was something like Herlock Sholmes. I don't think he was German, though. Ah, that explains it. Shall we compare notes, then? We can tell you what we found out. Yes, let's do it. God, he looks awful. What? Nikolina Pavlova? She's in the cabin next door? Oh, do you know who she is? Please, what self-respecting ballet fan would know that graceful angel? Oops. I think I upset him there. Well,
That tells us the neighboring cabinet is unrelated to the case, at least.
Oh? How?
Because angels don't go around committing crimes, do they?
Whoops. Now I've definitely upset him.
Inspector, has your investigation in here proven fruitful? If I'm honest, there's very little more I can do. Our duty is to make sure the scene isn't disturbed, ready to hand over to the Hong Kong police. So I'm just keeping watch here, trying not to take my eyes off the job. Oh, I see. Ah, there is one thing. I do have a small piece of new information for you.
Oh, what?
Yes, do tell us, Inspector, please.
What is this new information you have, Inspector?
It's this. The Boreas medical officer had finished his examination of the body. I managed to obtain the report.
Oh!
Kazuma's Postmortem Report. Kazuma-sama's... So, what was the cause of death? Damage to the cervical vertebrae is what is written on the report. His neck was broken? Yes, it would seem so. There were no obvious wounds or other sign of injury. So at first I think they were considering poison. But it turns out they found no trace of poison in his system at all.
Well, what weapon was used then?
Nothing has been found as yet, but the fact that there are no signs of a wound suggests it may have been a blunt object, something that wouldn't leave a mark.
Oh, I see.
All the body's nerves run through the spine to the brain. Strong enough impact to the neck could induce death. It is a possibility, and no obvious wound would be left.
Poor Kazuma.
I have a second copy of the report. If it might be useful, you're welcome to have it.
Really? Are you sure?
Yes, it's fine. I trust you. After all, if I didn't trust you, I'd never have agreed to you leaving this cabin in the first place, would I?
Ah. Alright, let's take a peek at that real quick. Victim, male, Far Eastern. Time of death, sometime between 1 a.m. and a little past 2. Damage to the cervical vertebrae resulting in instant death. The victim's neck was also most certainly broken as a result of a strong blow to the area. No obvious external injuries or traces of poison.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes was here, was he? Yes, he seemed to be enjoying himself a little too much as he crept about on the floor investigating. But then he suddenly left. I suppose he must have become bored.
Did he say anything at all?
Actually, now that you mention it, yes, just one thing. We practically shouted it. It's shoe polish was all he said.
Shoe polish? I don't know what he meant.
It was when he was over there by the piece of broken glass, do you see?
Ah. Perhaps he was talking about this brick-colored mark, do you think?
Ah, yes, that must be it. But how could Mr. Sholmes know that it's
Shoe polish?
That leaves me cold, I'm afraid. I have no idea.
What is it, Susato-san?
Well, Kazuma-sama was wearing leather shoes with a very dark tan hue.
Dark tan? A sort of dark brownish red, then.
Yes, a little like the color of red wine, but darker. I often repaired them for him.
Oh! Does this mean that this mark was made by the polish on Kazuma's shoes that they scuffed on the floor?
That's really all I can tell you at this stage. I should return to my post. My fellow crewmen's eyes are boring into the back of my head.
Yes, that might be for the best. Thank you.
Poor Inspector, you look exhausted. Oh, no, well... I feel terrible that I failed to protect Asugi-san. He was my responsibility. Of course, my pain is nothing compared to yours. You were his friends. The truth is, I seem to have had a heavy head ever since I woke this morning.
A heavy head? That's interesting. My head's still throbbing too. So this ventilator joins Miss Pavlova's cabin.
Yes, that's right.
Just a few minutes before he died, Kazuma saw something emerging from it. The Speckled Band, as he described it.
If only Miss Pavlova had been able to shed some light on it, but she seemed as baffled as we were.
Yeah, I wonder if she's telling us everything, though.
Not sure.
I know most people aboard would say the same about me, but something about that woman that just didn't sit right with me. It really is such a beautiful color, this glass. Looks like whatever it was has broken clean in two, but the other half is nowhere to be seen.
And there's the brick-colored mark.
Which is shoe polish, according to that great detective you seem to know all about.
I suppose it must be from Kazuma-sama's shoes.
Maybe, but I'd like to know is, how can the detective be so sure that it's shoe polish and not something else?
Because he's a great detective, of course.
That's hardly a reason, is it? I doubt this'll... Okay, yeah, this isn't gonna do anything. Okay, well... Do we leave? Yep, we leave. Okay. I poked everything that could be poked.
Ah! Look, Naruhodo-san. Seaman Stroganoff has gone.
Strong enough?
The burly Russian sailor who's always crossing his arms and glaring at us?
Ugh. All these Russian names are impossible to remember. Did you hear that? Sounds like someone singing. Oh no.
This caroling. I know that lark-like voice.
Well, never mind that now. This is a golden opportunity for us.
Yes, you're right. We must seize it. Let's go inside Miss Pavlova's cabin while we can and investigate.
Definitely. Before that stringy knot crewman comes back.
It's Stroganov, not Stringy Knot.
Please tell me. Please tell me we walk in on Herlock Sholmes dancing around with the tiara on his head. Please. I need this. Miss Pavlova isn't back yet. Susato-san. Oh! Where's she gone? Hey, what are you doing? Those are her private things.
There's not a moment to waste, Naruhodo-san. We must investigate it as quickly as we can.
I suppose you're right, for Kazuma's sake.
Not just for Kazuma-sama.
What do you mean?
It can't be long now until we arrive at port in Hong Kong. I don't want you to be in those handcuffs when we get there.
Really?
We must solve this case, Naruhodo-san. By ourselves if we have to.
Yes, we will. This cabin door is the same simple sort of bolted latch that our cabin door has. If the bolt's drawn across, there's no way anybody could enter the cabin from outside.
Yes, it's not a particularly heavy-duty bolt, is it? But still, wouldn't slide across of its own accord, would it?
No, and the door is made of metal, so there's no chance of trickery using magnets to unbolt it from the outside.
And it seals up perfectly, too, to stop any seawater coming in, so you couldn't use the method you told me of passing a thread through a crack around the closed door either.
I seem to know a lot of tricks for opening doors. Starting to see why they suspect me. What books have toppled over together? Look, every single one.
Do you think that's a god of the sea, perhaps? He's toppled too, though.
It's exactly the same as the bookcase next door, in Kazuma's cabin.
Perhaps Miss Pavlova was practicing a difficult ballet pose and fell against the bookcase.
Oh no! Would she really be practicing ballet on the same night she ran away from her ballet company?
Alright then, it must have been you. You lost your temper and knocked them all over in a fit of rage.
Not everything bad happens on the ship is because of me, you know.
Well, anyway, I'll set them all straight in here too. I don't like seeing things in disarray. Oh my! Miss Pavlova's case is open.
It's completely empty inside, but according to the great detective's great deduction, she was hiding her special friend in there.
Yes, a friend that she had to keep secret.
Because you're not allowed to bring animals aboard the SS Berea. Well, what kind of animal she had in there? More to the point, where is it now? The tiara's gone. There are a few books on the desk, nothing else by the looks of it.
Well, Miss Pavlova only ran away from the ballet last night. We hardly occupied this cabin for any time at all.
That's true. I wonder what kind of books she likes to read.
Let me see. Yes, I see. It would seem that Miss Pavlova enjoys reading books written in Russian.
Thanks. I think I probably already knew that.
It's rude to ask too much of people, Naruhodo-san. Kindly remember that.
Got him.
Naruhodo-san, are you there?
Sorry, I'm right here. Yes, why?
Oh, good. I thought you might have climbed into the wardrobe when I wasn't looking. There's no place like home.
Believe me, I don't have some strange compulsion to jump inside every wardrobe I see, you know.
Well, anyway, I'm not sure anyone could fit inside this one. Full of beautiful outfits. I suppose they're all stage costumes.
Really hoping we might... I was rather hoping we might find Miss Pavlova's friend hiding in there, but no such luck. Are we not gonna mention this giant bag on the floor over here? There's one of these next to the bed in Kazuma's cabin, too.
Yes, it's a belt cord. I can't resist.
She barely hesitated there, and she gave it a good tug, too.
No, I didn't actually expect anyone to come.
We don't want them to! We're trying to investigate in secret! This ventilator connects to Cosmo's cabin next door.
Yes. But what a fool a shipbuilder must be to open a ventilator into another room. Maybe it's so that if there's a gas leak next door, the occupant of this cabin would notice and raise the alarm. Or the occupants of both cabins would die of gas poisoning.
That is a possibility.
Anyway, last night Cosmo wrote that he saw a speckled band coming out of this ventilator. I wonder what this little saucer is doing on the floor.
Yes, it doesn't look like it's been dropped, more like it was put there deliberately.
Do you think there could be a leak in the roof just above here?
What? A leak?
Is this ship quite safe?
I'm sure that even if there's a little leak in the roof, it doesn't mean the whole ship is gonna sink.
No, you're right. Of course you're right.
She's really trying to persuade herself, isn't she? Yeah, she's agreeing with you for once.
It would seem this teapot is empty.
The natural conclusion is that the Russians are very thirsty people.
Or because Miss Pavlova only came into this cabin last night, she hasn't had the chance to make any tea yet. I mean, it could be either.
It's definitely that they're excessively thirsty. I'd lay 1,000 to 1 on it.
You're rather obstinate, aren't you, Naruhodo-san? I suppose every cabin has a waste paper basket.
Shall we have a little look and see what's been thrown away?
Naruhodo-san, it's poor etiquette to go sifting through someone's rubbish, you know.
Ugh, those eyes. He's looking at me like I'm a piece of rubbish now.
However, these are special circumstances, I think.
Exactly, we have no choice. There's hardly anything in here at all.
Oh, well, that's a little disappointing.
I like how we have to keep investigating this. Ah, yes, they're displayed in this cabin too. Look, the SS Burias rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden.
I suppose Miss Pavlova realized that she needed to keep the contents of her case secret after she read this. Her special friend, I mean.
I wonder where her friend has disappeared to now. Hey, did you know you can't have pets on here? Probably having fun exploring the ship, I imagine.
I just hope Seaman Stroganov doesn't find it and throw it overboard.
Oh, yeah, so do I. Yeah, that's the one thing that Ace Attorney has done a lot. Is they're just like, hey, this is a thing. Hey, this might be important. Okay, I think I've investigated everything here. Back to the hallway. Oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, it's Mr. Sholmes, look.
Oh, you never know where he's going to turn up next, do you?
He seems to be stealing a look at something as he sings to himself. Tra-la-la-li-la-li-la-li, I did it the great detective way.
He's still singing.
I think he hasn't noticed us. I'm simply in extremely high spirits. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when the yard bit off more than it could chew. And through it all, when there was doubt, it's lucky her luck was about. Excuse me. I solved it all and I stood tall. I did it the great detective way. Mr. Sholmes. Ah! What is it? You want to fight? Honestly, interrupting a fellow when he's singing, and I was just about to read the climactic finish. Sorry, I thought you were never going to stop, so I figured now was as good a time as any. I very nearly dropped you to the floor with one of my favorite strike hooks. Alright, I get the picture. Now could you put those fists away? What is he doing? Mr. Sholmes, you seem to be examining something before we interrupted you. Ah, yes, that. I was immersed in study of the ship's log as penned by the stockily-built crewman who's usually on guard here. Oh, yes, the ship's log. And did you find anything useful from it? Well, after 2 a.m. this morning, the majority of the entries are blank. Which means there was nothing to report, nothing of note happened, so... You truly are a student from the land of the rising sun. You've been utterly blinded by it. Sorry? Your logic, my boy, is inverted. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? Observe the other pages and all shall become clear. It would seem the same crewman stands sentry in this first-class passageway, and he has an almost religious practice of recording nothing to report every half hour. Oh, he writes that in every 30 minutes? Nothing to report. Precisely. Put simply, the seaman's writing nothing to report when there is just that. And yet, the ship's log from last night is largely blank. He didn't even write nothing to report. Do you mean... Yes. There were circumstances afoot last night which led to the seaman being absent from his post. What kind of circumstances? What happened? That remains a mystery for now, but we can be sure something significant took place. So significant that it caused the seaman to forget his regular habit of scribing nothing to report in the log. These are important details. I would stake my life on it. You must log the ship's log into your mental file. Now that deduction was worthy of a great detective. Ah, you're starting to understand what my way is, I see. What makes Sholmes Sholmes. Brilliance. Ouch. What is it? Are you hurt? Oh, don't worry yourself. I seem to be afflicted with a throbbing head this morning for some reason. Nothing more. Well, my friends, until our next encounter... He's still singing to himself. Here it is, he wanders off down the passageway. There's something wrong, Susato-san. You seem to be lost in thought. It's just, well, I feel the same. Sorry? Ever since I woke this morning, I've had something of a headache. Sort of continuous throbbing. Oh, you too? Oh. It's Pavlova's cabin. This could be our chance. Burly sailor doesn't appear to be around at the moment. We can investigate every last inch of that cabin. Not sure if we could go that far, but we could certainly do with looking around more. Or we could learn something. Figured we'd be done by now. Probably are. That was probably... Okay. I think we've investigated everything, haven't we?
Oh, we have missed my bookshelf. All the books provided for passengers occupying this cabin, neatly arranged on the shelf.
They were all over the place when we first looked around, if you remember.
Oh, yes, and you tidied them up, didn't you?
You have to look after the ship's property. Unruly behavior in the cabins leads to damage. It really wasn't me who knocked them over.
They want to go back to the other cabin? Okay, that's fair.
Well, anyway, I feel much better now that they're neatly lined up. I can't relax when things are untidy.
Yeah, I had the feeling I'd still have something to look at. I just didn't know if it was this cabin or the other cabin, so. Oh!
Ah, what's that sound?
Dive! Dive! Shut down the engines immediately! Vessel sighted at quarter-mile 4. Full stop, hard to starboard, all hands brace for impact. Wait, what?
I think we're about to crash into another ship.
What?
I can't stand.
Susato-san, hold on to me. Susato-san, are you alright? Are you injured at all?
I think I'm fine. Thank you, Naruhodo-san.
Oh, look at that. Everything's a mess again. It's probably not pirates.
Looks like we avoided a collision. I think.
Yes, the ship has come to a stop.
Oh my goodness, what about you, Naruhodo-san? Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine. Hello, is anybody in there? Shout if you need assistance. Oh, that sounds like
Inspector Hosonaga.
Is that you in there, Naruhodo-san? Open the door, quickly. What? The bolt?
Look at that.
The door's bolted. Did you do that, Susato-san?
No, I didn't touch it.
Well, that's strange. How did... And... Look at all the books. They're just like they were before again.
Naruhodo-san, aren't you going to open the door and let the inspector in?
I better tidy this place up first. Our violent emergency stop had solved one mystery, at least, in a very vivid way. I knew that what awaited us on the other side of the cabin door would not be pleasant. I hurried around tidying up the cabin with a new sense of foreboding in my heart. Why? It just doesn't stop. No, this is great. This is interesting because with a lot of the other Ace Attorney games, the investigation really does seem like the side part of the game. Like, it's obviously building up to that court appearance. And I assume this is the same as well, but it looks like they've put a lot more emphasis on the investigation in this game. Obviously, this is only the first case, the first full case, but it seems to be playing into more of that investigation than the other games in the series have. I wonder if that was kind of a conscious choice, or if that just kind of, with the addition of Herlock Sholmes, they really wanted to play it up more in this game. I'm interested. Somehow, the door to the cabin we were in ended up bolted after we made an emergency stop. Susato-san took a deep breath and gently slid back the bolt. You! What are you doing in Miss Pavlova's quarters? Ah, you both look unhurt. Good. Yes, we're fine, thank you. What on earth happened? We heard something about how we were going to collide with another ship. Yes, it appears to have been a false report, though. How did that happen? There's a dense fog outside, so it's extremely difficult to see. Someone must have thought he saw a ship ahead. The person obviously triggered the alarm, and that's why we made an emergency stop. Everything is chaos! Passengers are screaming, crew are running everywhere. This first-class area is the only quiet part of the ship at the moment.
Oh, I see.
Someone triggered the alarm? Does that mean that someone pressed that button outside?
You wicked intruder, dressed in all in black, you are the devil.
Sorry, me? I've been called a lot of things before, but devil is a first.
You opened my traveling case, how could you?
What? No. We didn't touch it.
That's right, Miss Pavlova. It was already open when we came into your cabin. Inspector!
Yes?
Arrest this man! I know he did it. He is a criminal. Is it not enough that he has killed a man?
Duh! And he stole away as well. Vixen promises not to steal chicken, do you believe?
Take him away. He is a trespasser as well as everything else.
Stowing away, trespassing, killing. She is right. You are devil.
Doesn't look good, does it?
There is cell below deck. Throw him in. Tomorrow we talk in Hong Kong, and we give you straight to police. Wait, a cell?
Please, Inspector Hosonaga, is there nothing you can do?
This is a Russian vessel. I really have no jurisdiction here. After my last effort to appeal to the captain's good nature, I think I'm out of options.
This is terrible.
This is a real crisis. I gotta find a solution. Immediately. I just need to keep calm and focus on the task at hand, which is investigating.
Don't touch my things.
You want me to show you where crawfish hibernates? Hiya! Oh god, she's throwing me on the floor now too.
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think you're doing?
Wow, everyone's attacking me. I was just starting to think she was my friend.
Is there anyone who can help me out of this mess?
What in the God's name are you doing? No. I need a moment. He really just does not care. Mr. Scholz? Naturally. I was analyzing what a weight of 20,000 rubles feels like on one's head. Have I not told you that as a detective it is my business to know what other people do not? This isn't me a tomfoolery, my boy. Oh, no. Oh, well, why were you hanging from that hook before then? Isn't it obvious? To properly assess the weight of the 20,000 rubles, naturally. I wish to determine if it would bend that conceited-looking hook on the wall, so full of brag and bounce. I never know whether to take this man seriously or not. Ah, you again. The great detective. Ah, Inspector. I confess I've been looking for you. I have something to report to you most urgently. Well, you might try looking for me somewhere other than a hook on the wall next time. What is to report? Speak! An urgent report from a great detective can mean but one thing. Yes. The case of the curious murder that took place last night here on this vessel, the steamship Boya, has been solved. By me, naturally. What? Really? Yes, I have eliminated all other possibilities. No other explanations exist. So, allow me to illuminate all your minds. For I am about to reveal my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. Ha! You have solved it. Even Hedgehog understands this case. We all knew who was responsible for killing student boy this morning when we found criminal in wardrobe. It is this stowaway, and he has handcuffs to prove it. I didn't do it. The trouble is, there doesn't appear to be anyone else who could have killed the victim. Because as everyone knows, the cabin door was bolted shut from the inside. That means the culprits must be someone who was inside the cabin.
Yes, it's what's called a locked room mystery in detective stories.
Duh! Locked room! That is point!
The room was locked.
Well, I can't deny that. There's no way the bolt could have been drawn across the outside of the cabin. You are all quite mistaken. The cabin next door is not a so-called locker room after all.
What?
Oh yes, there is another entrance. An entrance used last night by the culprits in order to gain access to the cabin despite the bolted door. What other entrance? We never discovered one. Wyatt gapes open-mouthed as we speak. The ventilator man. The ventilator? You think this is fun? I cannot even put my arm through that hole. That's because your arms are as thick as tree trunks. You're suggesting that the culprit entered and left the victim's cabin through that tiny opening. It's not possible. Ah, but it is. And last night, the victim even witnessed the intruder in the act of passing through the ventilator.
Mr. Sholmes, do you mean... Are you referring to the words Kazuma-sama wrote in his diary? 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. 1:35 a.m. what looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grate.
Precisely, my dear madam. What does it mean? What is this speckled band? The answer to that particular conundrum is in this very cabin. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? There's a distinct element of danger. Fear not, I am ready. What I am about to expose for you all to see will shock you to your cores. Whoops, hit the wrong button. Behold! What the? Snack! Allow me to introduce you all to the band, the Speckled Band. A snake? Indubitably. Mr. Sholmes, just one thing. Pray, what troubles you? Well, that snake isn't really speckled, is it? It looks more stripy, wouldn't you say?
Yes, you're right. I think in this case you'd have to call it the striped band, wouldn't you?
You both see and observe with distinction, however. Do you not think that is precisely the trap into which the culprit wishes you to fall?
Oh my goodness, really? It's a trap?
How exactly? I think perhaps it is time I explain the intricacies of my train of thought. Are you ready, Miss Pavlova?
I'm sorry for the young man who died, but that is all. His death has nothing to do with me. This whole thing has nothing to do with me.
There are two conclusions I have drawn from the facts. Number one, last night your friend infiltrated the victim's cabin. And number two, that same friend was responsible for the victim losing his life.
Oh.
He's turned as white as a bowl of rice again. Schultz must be right. He's hit the nail on the head. This young woman's friend killed Master Asuki? Looks like he can't speak with that snake coil around his head. I would advise as little movement as possible, Seaman. You wouldn't want the fangs of that long friend in your neck. So everyone, let us begin. Sherlock Holmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Oh god, we're doing this again. Miss Pavlova, moments ago you claimed the following. His death is nothing to do with me. This whole thing is nothing to do with me. Yet you cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those horrid events, your aching heart smarts with pain. It's that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. We ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that portentous night? Why, naturally, it was the friend with which you boarded this vessel, was it not? Ah, as I suspected. Another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us. And yet, the fact leaves us in a quandary. Victim's written observations on the night in question tell of a speckled band. Whereas, regrettably, this specimen's markings do not fit that description in any way. What explanation can we then give, pray? What was the sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night?
No, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this.
Oh, but it does! You have the answer to this quandary even now hidden behind your back. Yes, that's what you are trying, but failing to conceal. It can only be the snake's sloughed skin. Evidently, after the subtle and horrible crime, this most deadly friend of yours shed its original skin. No?
I don't know what you are talking about.
Last night, through the ventilator visible in this cabin, you all then speckled friends to the next door. Using the bell cord on the other side of the bridge, the serpent silently descended into the victim's quarters. In the dim light, it appeared to the young gentleman who was about to lose his life as a speckled band. In summary, the nature of this friend of yours, which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a rare breed of snake whose markings change each time it sloughs its skin. Snake so dreadful, we can only imagine it would be found in the deepest depths of India. Sholmes, what the hell are you talking about? Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter. The grim demise of the victim. How did this young man lose his life? And why? According to the data from which I have been apprised, it would appear that there were no visible signs of injury. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom. Now, if we take that as fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime.
Oh no, could there be...
Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively. The almost but not quite imperceptible puncture wounds left by the venomous fangs will seal the truth. Yes, the vestiges of the same snake bite delivered by your terrifying friend. This makes no sense. There is no point feigning ignorance, Miss Pavlova. After the incident, you endeavored to hide everything, didn't you? But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right, you hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that traveling case. When we first met in this cabin, it came to my attention that your case moved periodically. Your serpent assassin was restless inside, no doubt. You don't... It is telling that the victim made note of a low whistling sound that he heard minutes before his end. It was your signal, was it not? Sound you would use to train your serpent friend? To train? Indeed, you put the serpent through this ventilator. Right. After it appeared, you summoned it back with a whistle. Couldn't know if the animal had done its duty, so you would listen for signs of life next door. If the victim appeared not to have been dispatched, you'd release the snake once more. Do not I, the snake, has undergone such training? It's not true. Having slithered to the ventilator and down the bell cord, the creature needed only to sink its fangs in once. And its venom would course through the victim's veins, ending his existence forever. That is the true nature of the Speckled Band that took the poor young man's life. There'll be no doubt. My logic is infallible. Sholmes. 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 Miss Pavlova has trained her pet snake as a killing machine. Now on the floor, you'll observe a saucer of milk. Promise of food is the key to training any creature. Incredible. Masterfully done, Sholmes. You've solved the mystery. Amazing. Your great deduction really lives up to its name. I see now why Herlock Sholmes has become such a household name. My dear man, there's nothing remarkable. As the Russians say, I could have done it with one left hand. Could I venture an opinion, Mr. Sholmes? But of course. What's on your mind? It's just about your deductions before. Some things don't quite make sense to me. I welcome questions as to my method. I will answer both loudly and proudly. Oh, well, good. First of all, snakes are egg-laying creatures, part of the reptile family. You are well informed, madam. And reptiles, don't drink milk. Ah. It's really only mammals that like to drink milk, you see. So, I'm not sure it would be possible to train a snake using milk as a reward. No matter. No doubt Miss Pavlova used some other treat to encourage her pet to do her bidding. Milk was merely an example, the logic holds. Well, there's something else. Snakes have no ears. Ah. Yes, so I'm not sure it would really be possible to signal to a snake by whistling. But, madam, what of the tales from Arabia? Have you not heard of the snakes that dance to the sounds of a flute? I think perhaps the performers play their music in time with the snake's natural movements. Oh, I see. No hands, no feet, no ears? These creatures are so inept as to be practically useless. Don't take it out on the snakes, Mr. Sholmes. There is one other thing. You have more?
snakes use the scales on their bellies to propel themselves. So, I'm not really sure that a snake could manage to climb up a flat bell cord like the ones in these cabins.
Then it should try harder.
Please, don't be angry with me, Mr. Scholes. The point is, even if the snake had gone through the ventilator to the next door cabin, it couldn't have come back without help. What I'm trying to say is that there are a number of reasons why it's difficult to imagine the snake could have had a part in this.
He's sad now.
I think we need to step in and help again, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh no, you don't mean...
Yes, we need to modify Mr. Scholes' latest deductions and turn them into the great ones they ought to be.
I had a feeling this was coming. Alright, let's give it a try. Just what I was waiting for, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, right. So, cast your eyes down on your wrists again. What? You've done it again.
Your handcuffs are gone.
Where did they go? Fear not, I shall see them restored after our work is done. I really wish you'd leave them off. Now, everyone, let us begin. Sherlock Holmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Alright. So, she's looking at her hand here. She does have a pained expression on her face.
Yes, it's true. She looks as though Kazuma-sama's death is weighing heavily on her mind.
I'm not sure Mr. Sholmes has quite read her quite correctly. Is that it?
Maybe so another way to interpret her expression then? Let's take a moment and really look very closely at Miss Pavlova.
Oh!
Oh, Naruhodo-san, look! That looks like a very painful wound.
Looks like a scratch made by some kind of small animal. Fairly recently, too.
Well, whatever scratched her doesn't appear to be around here.
Yes!
Yes, when you recall those horrid events, that claw scratch smarts with pain. Oh, indeed. Simple observation reveals that the wound is fresh. Miss Pavlova, did you in fact receive that scratch sometime last night?
When I think about the young man who died next door, I feel so sad. When I am sad, the pain from this wound is worse.
And it is that very pain that evidences your inextricable link to the victim's death. So, we ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that portentous night? She has been hiding that hand the whole time, I just noticed that. I just figured it was her being shy, but she was actually hiding the mark. That's actually pretty clever. Yeah, that's not right. Seems likely that the scratch mark on the back of Miss Pavlova's hand was made by this friend of hers, doesn't it? Except, snakes don't have claws, do they?
No, they don't. They don't even have hands or feet on which claws might grow.
Well then, if that snake isn't her pet, what is?
What's the true identity of this friend of hers? We should follow her gaze, Naruhodo-san. That's where we'll find the answer.
Oh!
Yes!
Nope. We're looking over this famed photographic print, weren't you, Miss Pavlova? Let's not be distracted by the print itself. Oh no. It's the frame that is your friend, isn't it? What spectacularly contrived logic led you to this mindless conclusion? Oh, well, it's supposed to be a logic and reasoning spectacular, so I thought I'd at least contribute to the show. I did the same thing. Good. This is my show, Mr. Naruhodo. Kindly perform any peculiar experiments on your own stage. Ugh, sorry. Okay. Right. Look at it first. Oh, look at the kitty! Oh, look at the photograph in this frame. This must be something Miss Pavlova brought with her when she ran away.
She is exceptionally beautiful, isn't she?
Yes, that's true, but personally, the little black creature she's holding that caught my eye. Better take a closer look at this.
Yes!
Kitty! Without doubt, your friend is this little kitten we see before us. Yes, the scratch on the back of your hand makes that abundantly clear.
Oh no.
Whereabouts of this black kitten isn't clear, but what is clear, that you brought the animal with you when you ran away, didn't you?
Darka is my best friend. I couldn't leave her behind.
Darka would appear to be a Russian blue. And yet, that fact leaves us in a quandary. The victim's written observations online to question tell the Speckled Band. As regrettably, the specimen's markings do not fit that description in any way. What explanation can we give then? Can we then give, pray? What was the sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night? Alright. That's a toy, isn't it?
Did you see that? She just took something out of her pocket and hid it behind her back.
She just left it in her pocket. No one would ever have known.
Oh yes, ploys like that are Mr. Sholmes' specialty. He's ever so cleverly forced her to reveal something.
But deduction was his specialty. Maybe making me believe that was a ploy too.
Anyway, I find it hard to believe that's the skin of a snake.
In which case, what is Miss Pavlova hiding behind her back? Well, it's speckled. It is a band, but what is it? It seems to be soft and fluffy. A piece of cloth of some sort. That looks like a handle at one end?
I think it may be a cat's toy. This sort is common in the West, apparently.
How is that a toy for cats?
Cats like to chase the band around and paw at it. Kittens in particular love that sort of play. You only need to wave it in front of them and they pounce to catch it.
That sounds positively adorable.
Yes!
The thing that you're trying but failing to conceal is, a cat's toy. Ah, precisely. And the true nature of the now infamous Speckled Band. What is this toy that you dangled through the ventilator? You waved it around, I presume? Naturally, the victim could not fail to notice it. But why? For what reason? My dear boy, there can be only one answer to that. After her feline friend disappeared through the ventilator into the neighboring cabin, Miss Pavlova attempted to use the speckled cat's toy to entice the creature to return. Ah. In summary, the nature of this friend of Miss Pavlova's, which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a blithesome little Russian blue breed of cat by the name of Darka. Truly troublesome feline young Darka is proving to be. He must be caged once found. Love the misdirection with the speckled band. That was very cool. Yeah, because if you didn't see the first part of this, when the case started, they actually had a little Sherlock Holmes story where he mentions a speckled band and there's a snake on screen. So it's supposed to lead you down that path of logic, and this completely flipped it on its head. I love this. You'll forgive us for borrowing the photograph of your pet, Miss Pavlova.
It was after I gave her food last night. That's when it happened. She scratched the back of my hand and then ran up the bell cord. Before I could do anything, she had disappeared through the ventilator. Darka, she is so naughty.
Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter, the grim demise of the victim. How did this young man lose his life? And why? According to the data, no visible signs of injury. I'm surprised she would know anything about this. Yeah, no, that's not right.
What Mr. Sholmes says is true. There were no signs of a wound anywhere on Kazuma-sama's body.
That's right, but Mr. Sholmes seems to be unaware of one very important detail. Kazuma wasn't poisoned.
Yes, it would seem so. Let's give him the information he's missing now.
Yes!
The circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by the Postmortem Report. Yes. It was one or the other.
His neck was...
Indeed. Breaking of the cervical vertebrae is fatal. Only that Goliath would be strong enough to survive that. Seaman Stroganoff isn't some immortal freak, you know. The jury is out. Anyway, we have on good authority that the victim's neck was broken. Now, if we take that as a fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime.
Oh no, could there be...
Alright. Kazuma died because his neck was broken. In other words, he was probably struck by something or someone.
Yes, that's a distinct possibility. As of yet, no weapon has been found, though.
Presumably, Darka didn't silently creep up behind Kazuma and deal him a fatal blow.
I suppose it's possible that he had a fall and hit the ground awkwardly. Could have been a terrible act of misfortune that he broke his neck completely by accident.
Oh, yeah. Bad fall could explain it.
Rather hard to believe of Kazuma-sama, though. He wasn't a clumsy man.
Well, we need to fix this deduction somehow. Is there anything from the scene that could explain what happened?
Yes!
An examination of the mark on the floor will prove the cause of death conclusively. This particular mark, so prominently visible next to the victim's body, is a deposit of shoe polish.
Shoe polish?
Indeed. Positively identified by a little analysis device I constructed, which I carry now as a matter of course. Beeswax, tallow, and dye were my results, the undeniable ingredients of shoe polish. And the color of the polish is a perfect match to the color of Mr. Osugi's laced leather shoes. Looking at this mark, it's not hard to imagine what happened. For some reason, Mr. Osugi must have caught his foot at that point on the floor and tripped.
Please, no.
And, by a dreadful turn of misfortune, caught his neck against some immovable object as he fell to the floor. Suffering a fatal blow to the spine, the victim's vertebrae shattered, and in that instant he lost his life. Oh my god. Did he die because he tripped on a cat?
I don't know anything about this.
Is that really true, Miss Pavlova? What about the evidence left at the scene where Mr. Osugi lost his life? Yes, the facts are as clear as day to me. You did all you could to conceal the incriminating evidence. But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right. You hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that traveling case.
I don't believe it. Kazuma-sama merely tripped over and now he's no more? It can't be true. I refuse to accept it.
I know it's hard to believe, but the mark on the floor does seem to suggest that's what happened.
But
and if this part of Mr. Solm's deduction is right, Ms. Pavlova is trying to hide some evidence that would prove it. Here in this cabin. Somewhere in the direction that she just cast her eyes. I wonder. Have a good look around. There must be here somewhere. Be in the trash can, couldn't it?
Yes!
Nope, it's not in the waste paper basket. Sure, this waste paper basket is hiding something. Perhaps I should have examined it more thoroughly. Regardless, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and say this is it. What spectacularly contrived logic led you to this mindless conclusion? Oh, okay. So this is repeat dialogue. So if it's not there... Oh, yeah, good point. I should examine things more.
this is a waste paper basket. Perhaps all the first-class cabins have them.
But Miss Pavlova only started occupying this cabin late last night. Presumably there's not much rubbish in there yet. Aha! I mean, did I lie? It was in the waste paper basket.
It's a broken piece of glass, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and I feel like I've seen it somewhere before.
If it looks familiar, perhaps it's more than your mind simply playing tricks on you.
So what, now I present it?
Yes!
Okay, now it works. So it was the fact that I didn't know what was in the waste paper basket. That's right. You hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that waste paper basket. Here we have a fragment of some intricate glass object, it would seem. As a familiar air, in fact. Precisely. Found another piece of broken glass on the floor in Master Asugi's cabin. And as you can see, the two pieces fit together perfectly. Oh. So, Miss Pavlova, shall we consider what this tells us? Why would it be that part of this glass object, which was evidently broken at the scene of the victim's death, should be found in the waste paper basket in your cabin? You're well acquainted with this glass bell, are you not?
I don't...
I don't know, and that harsh Russian accent of yours won't save you this time, dear girl. Why? Because we have conclusive evidence linking you to the bell in question. Take it away, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. Evidence linking Miss Pavlova and the little glass bell. That would be... the picture.
Yes!
If you look at this photograph, you can clearly see, hanging from Darka's collar, the very glass bell in question. The truth is caught up with you, Miss Pavlova. The young man who lost his life last night did so after a truly inauspicious fall. And the cause of that fateful stumble? Your absent feline friend, Darka.
I couldn't tell anyone. I'm sorry.
Wow. I cannot believe that that is actually the direction this case took. That's incredible. Why don't you tell us now, Miss Pavlova? Tell us exactly what happened last night.
It was a little after 1 in the morning. It was so late, but I hadn't had time to feed Darka, so I gave her some food. And then, all of a sudden, she scratched me and jumped out of my hands.
People do say that cats become very anxious and nervous in new environments.
She was so fast. She disappeared through the ventilator before I could stop her.
That is how you acquired the rather nasty wound on the back of your hand, I take it?
Yes. I had read the, rules on the wall. I knew that I was not allowed Darka with me.
Yes, modern science suggests that animals can carry infectious diseases. It's a precaution, really.
So I listened and listened, trying to hear if there was some noise in the next cabin. It was very quiet. I was sure someone was there. He must be sleeping.
So at that point, you thought it safe to try to lure the kitten back again, dangling the end of the toy through the ventilator and into the adjoining cabin.
Darka always loved this toy, but it didn't work. Nothing worked. I tried using her favorite toy. I tried whistling to her softly, but nothing. She didn't return.
So the faint whistling sound Cosimo wrote about in his diary was Miss Pavlova trying to retrieve her pet. Cats have a propensity to remain hidden in the shadows when frightened.
Yes. So there was nothing else I could do. I just had to wait until she had calmed down. But then... I nearly passed out with shock. I heard her cry out and then... Oh, it was such a dreadful bang. Afterwards, nothing. It was totally silent.
Cosimo was... From the appearance of the brown mark on the floor, seems likely what you heard was the victim stepping on the glass bell and tripping up. As Asperia is a large vessel, but even she can pitch and roll violently without warning. Mr. Asugi was already off balance as a result of the ship lurching when the kitten got under his feet. A combination of unfortunate factors could easily have caused him to fall over. But what became of the kitten afterwards?
In the end, I managed to get her to come back through the ventilator.
Yet Darka is nowhere to be seen.
I must have forgotten to lock my case. And now she's disappeared again.
Gracious, that cat is as insufferably restless as I am. Well, he knows something about himself, at least.
When I woke this morning, I heard that a young man in the cabin next to mine had died. I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone what had happened. I was too scared. Scared that they would send me back.
Oh, hold on a minute. What about the snake? You're right, where is it? If the snake isn't your friend, Miss Pavlova, then whose is it and where did it come from? What on earth is such a dangerous creature doing on board the ship? He pets Snake. Oh, I didn't say. Snake is my friend. His name Prosko. What? What? That snake belongs to you? He escaped from Craze when emergency alarm sounded. I was looking for him. I did not expect to find him in here. Yeah, how did that snake get into this cabin? But animals are not permitted on board. Ha! We are at sea for 1 year. You want to be so long without close friends, without someone who understands. Didn't you find someone a little more human who understands you better? But my dear belly fellow, a gargantuan venomous snake. Surely you can appreciate the danger you're putting everyone in there. No venom. Pirosko does not have venom. He is harmless. Very long, but very gentle. He is adorable, like Granny. It's venomless. Yes. Now he is hungry, so he is in bad mood. But once I feed him, you will see big smile. And you feed him what? Milk, I suppose? Ha! Like they say, milk chickens? Ridiculous. Snakes that drink milk are only in stupid stories. Borosko eats mouses. Big, fat, round mouses. Ah, oh, so is that what the mouse trap in the passageway out there is for? Of course. How else can I catch my friend's favorite food? Nothing says top of the food chain like the look in their eyes right now. It refuses to drink milk. It can't hear a whistle. It can't climb up a bell cord. And it's not even venomous. How the deuce did something so inept land a starring role? It's not my fault. I do not make up stories. My Pirosko has nothing to do with this incident. So that's what happened. That's the truth behind my best friend's tragic death. That's a lot to process.
Miss Pavlova, I understand the difficult situation you found yourself in, and I do sympathize. But please remember this. A young man lost his life. If you're going to attempt to cover up your guilt with lies, then no matter what the circumstances, I cannot forgive you.
What are you talking about, Miss Mikotoba? What lies?
Miss Pavlova just confessed everything.
It was just a series of unfortunate events. An accident.
I'm no great detective like Mr. Sholmes. I don't have a gift for knowing the truth. Even I can see that was not the truth. Don't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo?
To be perfectly honest, yeah.
There's a discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure of it. I just can't quite put my finger on it.
I confess, I was intending to let Scotland Yard deal with any outstanding issues on this matter. Oh? I'm only present here for a very specific reason. The truth is, you, Mr. Naruhodo, are simply a distraction. A distraction? I do hope you've not been finding your shackles too uncomfortable. Ah! Not again! When did you do that? Especially as they're on your wrists as a result of my intervention. I was rather hoping I could resolve matters before we made our next port call. You were Mr. Sholmes? Yes. May I overlook to an important detail? The deceased young man was a very close companion of yours, was he not? Yes. Kazuma was my closest friend. I owed him my freedom, even. In that case, we must follow this to its conclusion. No further distractions. You must uncover the real truth here, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, whatever that may be. The key to this is the discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure. If I can chase that down, maybe the truth will become clear. Truth about how you really died. About how that scene in your cabin really came to be. Alright, I'll see what I can do. Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo.
So then, shall we begin? Yes. What we should ponder first is the victim who lost his life in a cabin that was bolted shut from the inside. Was this truly an unfortunate accident, or was it in fact no accident at all? That is what we must establish in the first instance.
Well, we've already established it, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of lost here.
The man tripped over the kitten that had climbed into his cabin via the ventilator. Tragic, yes, but still an accident.
Wait. Let's just take a step back.
Doesn't make sense if that's really what happened, does it?
The writing on the floor.
I'm gonna ask you to spell it out, I'm afraid. Yes, it's starting to take shape. There's a clear contradiction between the facts and Miss Pavlova's story here.
The evidence is right there in Kozmic's cabin, it's undeniable. His death couldn't have possibly have been a mere accident.
Really?
Let us show our hand, Mr. Naruhodo. Let me present the evidence. The evidence that proves unequivocally that the victim's death was no mere accident.
Yes!
The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. There's no way that Mr. Asugi could have left this message on the floor.
It's script. Russian, isn't it?
Indeed it is. The word written means wardrobe.
I see what you mean. Most people would leave a dying message in their native language, Japanese in this case. But maybe he was studying Russian. It is a simple language. He could have picked it up very fast.
That doesn't seem likely. Actually, not the point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not.
Sorry, what do you mean?
Exactly what I said before. There is no way that Mr. Asugi could have left this message on the floor. The reason why is clearly explained in here. Damage to the cervical vertebrae resulting in instant death. Instant death. Are we going to get a new postmortem report that says it was almost instant? Anyway. Which means, after the victim fell on the floor, he couldn't have possibly have written anything, because he was already dead.
That's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Asugi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there if what Miss Pavlova told us was true.
What? Susada-san has noticed it too, then.
Putting this message on the floor aside, there's something else that gives the truth away. A piece of evidence that proves this was no accident.
In other words...
Yes!
This piece of broken glass next to the mark on the floor.
But that's the glass built kitten. The kitten had around its neck. We already know all about it. It's broken in half when the victim tripped over the cat and fell. So we already have a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw in that logic?
Unfortunately, there's a very big flaw. A fatal flaw.
What? That's really what happened. Then how did one half of the bill end up back here in this cabin?
Ah.
Yes. Remember that we found the other half of the class bill in that wastepaper basket. Would you care to explain that, Miss Pavlova? Oh no.
Both these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. And when Mr. Asagi died last night in his cabin, there was someone else in the room. That same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth, in order to cover up his or her own guilt.
Yes, there was someone else present in Mr. Asagi's...
You are wasting time. Someone else was there. Duh, of course, we know this. What are you talking about? Bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. There was no way in or out.
Oh, yes.
And only other person in cabin when young student died was you.
Yes!
It's true, I was in the cabin when it happened.
You were shut inside the cabin wardrobe, to be precise about the detail.
But I don't know Russian. There's no way I would have left that message. Not would have. There's no way you could have left that message. To be precise about the details. Would you mind?
Forgive me, my dear fellow. As I was saying, the person in question wrote the word wardrobe in Russian on the floor in an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been asleep in there until the entire time.
And then, the same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen on the floor for fear of it becoming evidence that it would show how Mr. Asugi really died.
But why would this person have taken all the pieces of the bell away? Leaving half behind was always going to raise questions. Yes, well, it was past 1 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. The cabin would have been quite dark. The single small lamp suspended from the ceiling would barely have cast any light onto the floor there. Little wonder then that the culprit failed to notice a fragment of the tiny item.
You must suspect me, don't you?
Seaman Stroganoff. Nina is woman of sea. She is daughter of strong sailor. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills and she went away to join ballet company. But before, she was dancer on this ship, a member of ship's band. You do not accuse ship's angel of being criminal. Ah, so that's it. You say that when young student died, Nina was there in his cabin. But that is not possible. I give my tooth. Well, that's almost interesting. And why would you give your tooth, pray? How can you be so sure? You are great detective. You should know. Look through it in eyes. Cabin bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. Nobody could go in cabin. Not Nina, not anyone. You want to tell me that killer can walk through locked doors? Yet, it's impossible. Ugh, he's right.
But wait, I've read about this in detective stories. People often tie thread about door latches so they can open and close them from the outside.
Thread? Are you stupid? These bulkheads are not barn doors. Certainly not. These are watertight doors, as one would expect to find on any modern steamship. Constructed of heavy steel with not a gap in sight, no threads or needles. Nor magnets could have been used.
No, of course not.
I thought so too.
But Mr. Naruhodo suggested it earlier, so...
Susato-san, how could she shift it onto me like that? Even Stroganoff has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been bolted shut from the outside. Not necessarily. What? I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. And in this very cabin, we can see the traces of the method I have in mind been used before. I don't believe it. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe you know what I mean, don't you? A way to shut the bolt of the cabin door from the outside. One way does spring to mind, yes.
Do you really know what Mr. Sholmes means, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes, and so should you. Because we've seen it happen. Indeed we have. How would you care to do the honors, Mr. Naruhodo? Point out the telling signs of the method that was used to slide the cabin door across from the outside. Maybe the bookshelf, I don't know.
Yes!
Look at the bookcase there. See how all the books and things on it have toppled over?
That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before.
Yes, that's right. Very powerful vessel, after all. When the engines are thrown into reverse, a violent jolt goes across the entire ship. Any small objects that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over.
I believe... yes. It's what's known as a force of inertia, acting on the objects.
Is there nothing Susato-san doesn't know? Or that isn't in her book, at least? Well, whatever it's called, the same force that pushed over those books on the bookcase also made something else in this cabin move. The bolt on the cabin door. Ah! It was very obvious just after the emergency stop the ship made earlier. We had come into this cabin not long before and we hadn't bolted the door, but then... Hello, is everybody in there? Shout if you need assistance. Memories.
Oh, yes. That's it. When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door.
Yes, it's made of metal. It's small and light enough to be moved by the ship's sudden change of speed. Or the first of a Neptia, if we would call it that. Are you trying to say that last night, after Mr. Asugi was killed, the SS Buria made another emergency stop? When I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked a little odd. All the books on the shelves had toppled over, and all the ornaments. It was almost as if someone had run their hand across the shelves and deliberately knocked everything over.
Oh yes, I remember that. And I stood them all up again, didn't I?
Then when we came into this cabin, we were surprised to see the same thing in here. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like in Mr. Asugi's cabin.
Oh my.
Do you have anything to say about this, Miss Pavlova? Are you out of your mind? You say Buria made an emergency stop. It does seem a little far-fetched. Could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying that the culprit is actually someone from the engine room. Oh, it is simple enough. Are you forgetting the button in the passageway outside? Used to trigger the emergency alarm?
Oh yes. Of course. There was a notice, wasn't there? Telling you only to press the buttons in times of emergency.
On dark nights when the fog is dense, the cabin cannot afford to rely on the eyes of its lookout alone. Hence the placement of a number of buttons around the vessel to allow any crewman to raise the alarm. The sort of button one is almost compelled to press to satisfy one's curiosity. Wait! It was you? When the button is pressed, two things happen in the interest of safety. The emergency alarm bell rings, and the vessel comes to a complete stop. As indeed it did a little earlier today.
Mr. Sholmes. Surely it wasn't you who...
As I always say, a button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed, whatever the occasion. He sounds almost proud of himself. How dare you mess with ship? I report you to Captain. You are in much trouble now. Now, I'm sure all that can wait until later. Let us not overlook the fact that we have now learnt a valuable lesson. When the vessel makes an emergency stop, the bolts on the cabin door slide closed. So, what we must now consider.
Yes, it all comes down to one thing now. Last night, after what happened to Mr. Asugi, did this ship make an emergency stop or did it not?
You are idiots. Buria is huge ship with many passengers. If we make emergency stop even in the middle of night, there would be chaos everywhere. Oh, what are your thoughts, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea.
Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruhodo?
Fascinating. Do show us, my good man. What evidence promotes the theory that some emergency gripped this vessel last night? Log.
Yes!
Seaman Stroganov, it's your duty to patrol the first-class area of the ship, isn't that right? Duh, that is correct. Why? And the ship's log here. This would be where you record the details of your duties? What are you doing with that? That is mine. Ah, you rather carelessly left it atop the little makeshift bureau in the passageway over there. But as responsible passengers, we took it into our care with a mind to return it to you later. I left it there on purpose. That is where I put it always. The point is, looking at what you usually record, it's clear that under normal circumstances you write the phrase nothing to report every 30 minutes. But from 2 o'clock last night until first light this morning, nothing was recorded at all. Nothing recorded in the log? That is... Duh! Because nothing happened. But if nothing happened, you would normally write nothing to report, wouldn't you? Indeed so, which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened here aboard this SS Buria. Something sufficiently significant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log, in fact.
Are you suggesting that the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night?
Stop talking rubbish! I'm perfectly honest. I find that a little hard to believe myself. Oh? Why? Oh, because if something as major as an emergency stop really had happened, surely all of us would have noticed.
That's very true. Thanks to the emergency stop we experienced earlier, we all know what it feels like now. The ships lurched so violently, and the alarm bell was so loud. I can't imagine that anyone would sleep through that, even if it happened in the dead of night.
Well, no, that's a good point. What of the throbbing? Sorry, what do you mean? Your head, man. The throbbing of your head since this morning. We've all suffered with it. Oh, yes. I have had a headache, you're right. In fact, I haven't been feeling myself since I woke up today. Nor have I.
My head has been feeling heavy ever since dawn.
Yes, you've all been afflicted, haven't you?
Just as I suspected.
He's right, my head's been throbbing today too. Since eating dinner yesterday evening, everything has felt sort of hazy. I can't really remember anything that happened after I climbed back inside the wardrobe. Then the first thing I noticed this morning was the throbbing pain in my head. I'd already been dragged out of the wardrobe and had those handcuffs put on me by that point. Why didn't I wake up when all that was happening to me? Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, you boarded this vessel as a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, well, yes. Sorry. The stowaway class of accommodation doesn't usually include meals. What did you survive on? Well, Cosmo looked after me. He was always happy to share his meals. So you enjoyed some of the whole roast chicken dish that was served yesterday evening, I take it? Yes, in fact, I had all of that. Cosmo wasn't fond of chicken. Oh, really? So the victim didn't eat any of the chicken at all. That's right, he didn't touch it. Is that relevant? My dear fellow, does that not strike you?
Mr. Sholmes, do you mean to say that there was something wrong with the chicken?
I do.
No.
Really? Is that really true? The meal prepared for the passengers last night had been tampered with. Oops. Tampered with by the addition of a soporific designed to include a deuce. Wow. I'm just mixing up letters. A very deep slumber in those who consumed it. A sleeping drug. Do you mean whoever did this laced every meal with a sleeping drug so no one would notice the ship's emergency stop?
Mr. Naruhodo, of course that's not what Mr. Sholmes means. What a far-fetched idea.
Precisely. Lacing every meal of every passenger on board with a soporific drug would certainly be impossible. Unless, that is, every single member of the crew was a conspirator.
What? Mr. Sholmes.
well, Seaman? I'm sorry to say that any more deception in this matter will get you nowhere. If you refuse to talk, there would have to be an inquiry made through the shipping company, of course. And were that to happen, every member of the crew and the captain himself would be hauled over the coals for aiding and abetting a renegade.
Please, no more. I will tell everything. I cannot make problems like this for everyone anymore.
These crewmen are your former comrades, I believe.
Yes. So when I decided to run away, I asked them to help me.
We all agreed to help. Everyone together. She threw away everything. Her fame in the ballet, Mother Russia. We wanted to help our angel. I don't believe it. You alright. We put sleeping drug in chicken last night. Yes, I remember now. I didn't notice chewing on a lump of something strange and bitter at one point. We could not make all drug, how you say, dissolve? Ugh. Talk about heavy seasoning. At midnight in waters near Shanghai, we brought our angel on board. She was helped by comrade on shore with small fishing boat. All the passengers of the SS Beria slept soundly, thanks to the almost magical effects of the slumber-inducing potion their evening meals had contained. So if that's what happened, the only people awake on the ship last night were the crew, people who dislike chicken, and the newly boarded passenger, Miss Pavlova. That means it would have been possible for you. You could have used an emergency stop trick to lock Cosma's cabin door. But how does that make sense? Surely every cabin door would have ended up locked in that case, and there would have been a complete chaos. Oh, I wouldn't say so.
What?
Of course. Just like us. All the other passengers would have eaten their evening meal of chicken in their cabins, after which they would have been overwhelmed by tiredness because of the sleeping drug. Right, and accordingly, all passengers were already in their cabins for the night.
Yes.
The overwhelming majority of passengers would habitually sleep with the cabin's door bolted anyway, so not one of them would have found it remarkable to find the door locked in the morning. In summary, in order to fasten the bolt of a single cabin door on the ship, The culprit brought the entire vessel to an emergency stop in the early hours of the morning. You have talked long time and said many things. What is point? The point is what I said earlier. There was somebody else present on the scene when the victim lost his life last night. Someone left a message in Russian on the floor in an attempt to incriminate another. Someone tried desperately to hide the broken fragments of glass that would reveal the culprit's identity. And someone who abused the ship's emergency stop procedure in order to lock a door. All told, a busy night. But... I don't know about any of this. I am just a little girl. You like to speak with your long English words and explain your clever ideas. But I am sailor, and sailors don't listen to long, boring stories. We don't believe. Sailors like me, we trust only what we see with our eyes. I'm just a little guy. It's my birthday. A laudable trait. What? I'm quite of the same disposition, my good man. Observation to me is everything. Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes? Do you hear it? The accusatory cry of guilt on the wind. What accusatory cry of guilt? Sorry, you've lost me. Proof of involvement, man. But you can't hear such a call with your ears. No! You must hear it with your eyes. For observation is the basis of all deduction. What are you talking about? I believe the time has come for one final logic and reasoning spectacular to expose the truth. So, Mr. Naruhodo, your assistance, if you please. With what exactly, Mr. Sholmes? With observation, my dear fellow. Just as I said, of these two prevaricators. Observation? If you remember, Mr. Naruhodo, we know that somebody tried to fabricate evidence, don't we? By tampering with the scene of Mr. Asugi's death. What we're looking for is some trace of evidence that one of these two was there when it happened. Precisely. You are delightfully quick to grasp my meaning. Alright, I'll see what I see. So we're looking for a trace of evidence that shows someone else was there last night when Kazuma died. What this? Oh, look at this. Some kind of stain. In an unusual place. Yes, you're right. It looks like ink, if I'm not mistaken. Ink. Look at the color, too. It's clear where this came from.
Yes!
Seaman Stroganoff, you seem to have quite a large purple stain on the back of your white uniform there. Yes, I don't know where the dirt comes from. So, nothing in particular comes to mind about that stain. What are you trying to say? It would appear that the significance of the stain has escaped your attention, Seaman. Allow us to make it plain. Very large purple stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform. I think what made it is clear. Indeed it is. So, Mr. Naruhodo, present the evidence that proves it. My pleasure. Alright then, the evidence that proves what that stain on the back of Seaman Stroganoff's uniform really is... maybe this, right?
Yes!
Yeah, there we go. Yes, it's this photograph and the ink it shows. That's what caused the stain on your uniform. Ink. A rather unusual color of ink. Purple. Ah, the penny drops at last. Now you see the significance. The Russian word on the floor next to the victim's body was written in purple ink. And the stain on the back of your uniform is ink of exactly the same color. If the ink had been dry, it couldn't possibly have stained your uniform in that way.
Which means you must have been present in the cabin in the moments immediately after the ink was spilt.
Alright. Yes. It was me. I did it. Everything. I was awful quick. I arranged everything in that student's cabin to make it look like Wardrobe Man did it. And I pressed button to make Maria do emergency stop and bolt cabin door shut. I did everything so no one would suspect our angel.
Beef, please.
Don't worry, Angel. Let me do talking. It was after 1 in the morning. I was on duty patrolling passageway. And our angel came to me. She was white like sheet.
Biff, please, you must help me.
I went with her. The door to cabin number 1 was open. When I looked inside, I saw student boy on floor.
What happened here? Please, don't tell anyone. My little one, my little furry friend.
Everything that happened in cabin is like Angel told you. The kid escaped through the ventilator in Mr. Asaki's cabin, and he tripped over it and broke his neck when he fell to the floor?
Yes, that is right. So after the incident, when the cat ran away, Miss Pavlova then visited the cabin next to hers, only to find its occupant lying lifeless on the floor.
She said she was worried when she heard sound of something falling on floor. That's when she went to look. No, Angel? The door was not locked, so she opened to look, and you already know what happened after.
There's just one thing, if you wouldn't mind.
What?
When you went to Mr. Asuki's cabin, Miss Pavlova, was he already dead? Why?
I already told you. When Nima opened door of student's cabin,
I was asking Miss Pavlova. Well, Miss Pavlova? Oh. Yes. That is right. I saw him. It was dark and he was wearing black, but he was on the floor, not moving. I was scared. I understand. And I believe you. Is that finally it now? Have we discovered the real truth about Kazuma's death at last? Ah! Something very nearly slipped my mind. Oh, Mr. Sholmes? This photograph. Yes, I took this myself, you know. The cause of death was a broken neck, therefore the victim died instantly. The unfortunate incident that precipitated these events? A kitten on which the victim stumbled. However, those are the facts. There is one particular area in this photograph that seems to be somewhat unnatural.
What do you mean unnatural?
What are your thoughts on the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, well... Kazuma tripped and fell, and by some terrible stroke of bad luck broke his neck. Which part of this photographic print seems unnatural? The closed hand.
Yes!
I've been noticing that ever since that picture came up. I was like, why is his hand closed? This fist doesn't just seem quite right. The exact same thought occurred to me. In a fall, one's instinct is to open the palms flat. Yet here we see the victim with his left hand tightly balled into a fist. Almost, you might say, as though he were gripping something.
What do you mean?
Simply that I took the liberty of investigating the victim's fist a short while ago. You did? And what, pray, do you imagine I found there, my dear fellow? Mr. Sholmes, show us, please.
Why, of course, my dear madam. Would I keep you in suspense? Hold on now. What the hell is that doing in his hand?
Oh, a crescent moon with a little gemstone in the middle. Yes, you're right. A crescent moon. It's very pretty, but what does it tell us?
It tells us nothing. I'm not so sure. The crescent moon looks familiar somehow. Her right earring's missing. That was one of the first things I was going to try to point out when it was trying to get me to point out the back of her hand. Observation, Mr. Naruhodo. That is the key. What? The truth is now tantalizingly close. How did that crescent moon come to be in Cosmo's clenched fist? This is the final clue. The last piece of the puzzle. Ask yourself, what does this little crescent moon mean? What significance has it? And observe. Find the answer with your eyes.
Yes!
Miss Pavlova, I've noticed that on your ear, even though you have a metal earring, the decorative part of it seems to be missing. Little Link holding it on must have broken, I suppose. What? But looking at your other ear, I notice a crescent moon. I don't believe it. Now, the missing crescent moon was found in the victim's clenched fist. Clearly, there's only one logical conclusion. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes. Miss Pavlova, Mr. Asugi must have grasped that crescent moon and pulled it from your ear. Perhaps just moments before he fell onto the floor. In other words, last night in Mr. Asugi's cabin, you witnessed the moment when the victim fell with your own eyes. In fact, you were quite literally at arm's length from him. But then the question is, why did Mr. Asugi do that? Why did he pull your earring from your ear and hold it in his clenched fist during his final moments? Oh no. Enter. No one can protect you now. Please, Miss Pavlova, tell us the truth. Last night, what did you do to Kazuma?
When I think about everything that happened yesterday, it was too much. Running away, the fishing boat in the middle of the night, trying to climb onto this huge ship. And then, when I was at last in this cabin and I could relax after this horrible long day. Darka, wait! I couldn't believe it when she disappeared through the ventilator. I tried to call her with a little whistle. I tried waving her favorite toy, but nothing worked. Darka would not come back.
What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? Oh. I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine.
The young man from your country. He was very polite and kind. He helped me to find Darka, and he promised not to tell anyone. But then, when I had my friend in my arms again and I was going to leave the man's cabin...
Just a moment. Sorry, but...
Oh, yes?
Sure, I know your face. I knew somewhere before.
Ah!
Ah, of course. You're Nikolai Pavlova, aren't you? The Russian ballerina.
Huh? No, I don't know that name. My heart nearly stopped when he said that. He knew who I was. How could this man from a land in the faraway east know a Russian ballerina?
Yes, I saw your performance in Japan. The beauty of the ballet made a deep impression on me. But what are you doing on the ship? I read that your ballet company was performing in Shanghai at the moment.
I can't fool him. I have to tell him the truth and hope he doesn't tell anyone. I have no other choice.
I see. You've run away.
Please keep my secret. Don't tell anyone.
Give me a moment. I could use another opinion here.
He's going to pull that cord. He's going to tell the captain. Why did I think I could trust him? And it happened. Everything at once. It was only a second, but it felt like forever. Wait! I shouted. And then Darka jumped out of my arms and down to the young man's feet. And as he turned around to look at me, I pushed him.
You... How dare you?
I don't even know why. I don't know why I did it. I was just so scared. And I had to stop him from telling anyone about me.
And that's when you went to fetch help. From Seaman Stroganov, who was on duty out in the passageway. I heard Nina cry out in thud on floor, so I ran to her. She was standing at cabin door shaking like leaf. She looked at me and said, "Help me, Biff."
If they find out, I will be. Please, I have nowhere to go.
You decided to help. That's when you arranged things in Kazuma's cabin to make it look like I did it. But no one would suspect the passenger in the cabin next door. Yes. I went into the cabin and I looked around to make sure there was nothing to show Nina was there. Then I found stowaway. In wardrobe, still sleeping. Right. That's when he found me.
So you worked out a plan to lay the blame on the stowaway.
I closed the wardrobe doors and put back strange papers sign. Luckily for me, that's the only reason Susato-san started to believe me when I said I was innocent. I dragged the young man's body to good place and used ink that was spilling to write on floor. I wrote whatever that word is actually pronounced, so that person who found him would look inside wardrobe and find stowaway. And tell me, what of the glass bell?
It was by my feet, so I picked it up.
I see.
But it was dark in the cabin. I didn't notice the other half.
Then Angel went back to her cabin, and I finished the job by pressing the emergency alarm button in the passageway. Yes. Accordingly, the SS Beria did indeed come to an emergency halt a little after 2 a.m., thus enticing the bolt on the cabin door to slide shut, creating the locked room mystery. There's still one thing I don't understand, Miss Pavlova.
What?
Well, you said that you told Kazuma about the fact that you'd run away from your homeland, and it's because you were worried he was going to tell the captain that you pushed him. Isn't that right?
Yes.
But even if he had pulled the bell cord and called for the captain of the ship, aren't you friends with every member of the crew? Why would that have been a problem?
It was what he said first that made me scared.
What he said first? What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector?
Oh.
I'm sorry. Thought it was a friend of mine.
He said an inspector was his friend.
Ah, yes. Meaning me. Who's supposed to be acting as his bodyguard.
I thought that if the police knew about me, they would arrest me. So before he could pull the bell cord, May I stop you a moment, please, Miss Pavlova? It just doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, was Mr. Asagi really going to pull the bell cord? I don't know. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, I'm not Kazuma, so I can't know for certain, but he was a man of his word. If he told you he wouldn't give your secret away, then he wouldn't have done.
No, he was walking over to it. He was going to pull the cord. He was going to make them send me back.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, the day's work is not yet done, it seems. There's one more deduction to make. What? Another deduction? Yes. What action was the victim really about to take at that moment? Can we determine whether the young man's gaze was directed? First, consider the victim's location within his cabin. That's easy. I remember every detail of that room. I mean, yes, I spent quite a lot of time in the wardrobe, but still. The cabin has been my home for this entire voyage.
So this is how the cabin looked last night when Miss Pavlova visited Kazuma-san.
Yes, it's exactly how it was. Are you ready then, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes! There's one thing I've learned today. That a simple gaze can reveal all manner of truths. Not only that, in order to draw the right conclusion, you can't afford to be out by even a little bit when you're following the gaze to where it lands. So when he turned away from Miss Pavlova, what exactly was Kazuma looking at? He was looking at the wardrobe.
Take that!
Considering everything that had happened last night, certainly it may have looked as though Kazuma was going to ring the bell cord. Yes, however, what is directly beside the bell cord? The wardrobe.
The wardrobe.
And more importantly, what was inside the wardrobe? The man's great friend, sleeping soundly.
Miss Pavlova, please think back very carefully. What were Mr. Asugi's exact words last night?
Give me a moment. I could use another opinion here.
Another opinion?
Yes, not from a member of the crew. No, Mr. Asugi intended to consult his close friend on the matter. To see if, between them, he might be able to help in some way, no doubt.
Oh no. Sadly, we can't know the truth for certain now. It's too late for that. I wish you had made sure of what Mr. Asugi was looking at. Things may have ended very differently if you had.
Oh, she knows how to say some cutting words there. Miss Pavlova, I want to thank you for finally admitting the truth. But, unfortunately, the truth is a man lost his life because of what you did. And that will never change. I hope you'll never forget that.
Sorry. Really. I'm so sorry. What have I done?
And so, at long last, the mystery surrounding the tragic accident on the SS Burya was finally laid to rest. What will happen to Miss Pavlova now, then? Once we reach Great Britain, she'll be handed over to the British police at Scotland Yard. What about the fact that she ran away from Russia? Won't the Russians try to repatriate her? Apparently, the English detective can speak to the immigration office and sort all that out. Mr. Sholmes can do that? So she won't be going back to Russia then? No, I don't think so. Even if she wanted to return in the future, I doubt she would be able to. She ran away, so now she's in exile for life. I see. Sorry. Demon Stroganoff? I wanted to help our angel, no matter what. But I didn't think about you, no matter how you lost good friend. I will go with Nina. I will give myself to British police. That's kind of you. In the meantime, thank you for letting me go free again. Kazuma's death feels like such a waste, but... well... do what you can for Miss Pavlova, won't you? Duh. Well, I'm afraid you need to pack now. We're due to arrive in Hong Kong tomorrow. Much as it pains me, I'm gonna have to hand you over to the council to arrange your passage back to Japan. Yes. I did stow away, after all. Didn't really expect any different. So, you should get back to your cabin now. Looks like my study tour to Great Britain is over before it even begun, then. I think that only days ago, Kazuma and I were laughing together. How about we tear up the streets of London? Seems like a distant memory now. Oh, what's that? Is it someone weeping? Susato-san? Naruhodo-san, I didn't know you had returned. Oh, well, I haven't been back long. Inspector Hosonaga just told me I should pack, you know, ready to leave the ship tomorrow and all that. I still can't believe this has happened. I can't believe someone's life can be over just like that. Susato-san. He had such grand ideas for this visit to Great Britain. So many dreams. Now they've been cruelly taken away, just as he has. I thought I could never forgive the person responsible. But now I know the truth. It was just an accident. It's a silly series of mishaps. It's too much, Naruhodo-san. It's just too much. Yes, I know. I wish there was something I could say. Inspector, my duty was to see Asugi-san safely to Great Britain, but I failed. Caused his two closest friends great pain and suffering as a result. I've let everyone down. I will do anything to make up for my terrible blunder. Nobody blames you, Inspector. And I'm free again now. Huh? Ha 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 ha! Surprise, Mr. Naruhodo. What is the meaning of this? Oh, a trifling matter. Simply that in my head, I think I shall always picture you wearing those shackles. Without them, the balance seems all wrong. It's distracting. Sorry? So I decided to restore them, for old time's sake, shall we say. You are a stowaway, after all. He thinks this is funny. Mr. Sholmes, we do appreciate all your assistance. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Oh, not at all, not at all. Though it's a little late, may I offer my sincere condolences. The loss of your companion is truly heartrending. I hope that you will be able to fulfill some of his aspirations in his honor. I'm afraid that won't be possible. We shall be disembarking at the next port in Hong Kong. We have to return to Japan and make a full report about everything that's happened. Wait a minute. It's just me that has to go back, isn't it? I mean, I was the stowaway. The terms of the study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. There's to be one lawyer and one assistant. Was to be? In the light of Mr. Osugi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. Oh no. I don't care for me, but... poor Susato-san. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely.
But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer.
Qualifications, you say? Any qualifications obtained in your own country will be of little value in Great Britain, I'm afraid.
Oh,
But anyway, voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer.
yes.
Miss Susato?
Yes.
Do you think perhaps I might be able to do it? But you're not a lawyer, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, unless... Are you studying law? No, I'm not. But... I'm sorry. In that case, I don't think there's even a chance it could work. But as I said, there's still more than a month before we reach English shores. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I have a month in which to study, to learn what I must to become a lawyer in Great Britain.
Mr. Naruhodo.
That's ridiculous. Are you seriously suggesting anyone could learn all that in just 40 days? There's only one way to find out! I would work my fingers to the bone, Inspector, every single day. Will you let me try? And if by the time we reach Great Britain I haven't learned enough to be recognized as a lawyer, I'll take whatever punishment is deemed appropriate. But why put yourself in such a difficult position? For Kazuma. He said that there was something he had to do in Great Britain, and that he would sacrifice anything to make it happen. He was passionate about it. Can't let all that passion just come to nothing. And anyway, it's for my own benefit too. I will become a lawyer. I have to. What do you say, Miss Susato? Aww.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Thank you. So, what does our bespectacled inspector friend say? Are you serious? One lawyer and one assistant. The numbers are indisputable. No, it's madness. Yeah, it's fascinating, wouldn't you agree? Fascinating? Duty and rules of the dull routine of existence that we all abhor. Give us interest. Give us fascination. Speak for yourself. Besides, qualifications are no measure of a man. What matter is his character, no? And you've witnessed ample evidence of this man's exemplary character today with your own eyes. From the early hours of this morning until this very moment now. Despite contending with the passing of his close companion, and despite the accusation of guilt, this man has shown resourcefulness, intelligence, and above all, courage. Very well. I'll think of a clever way to word my report to the Department of Justice. Inspector, after all, I did just make a promise, didn't I? So that I do anything at all to make up for my shortcomings here.
Oh, thank you, Inspector.
You'll excuse me, I must pay a visit to the captain's quarters, I think. Need to discuss what to do next and how best to make my report.
Are you really prepared to attempt this, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes, I'm gonna try.
I wonder, would you consider teaching me what I need to know? Everything about being a lawyer? I would be delighted to help you. I am a judicial assistant, after all.
Thank you.
And, Mr. Naruhodo, I'd like you to take charge of this.
What? Me? Are you sure?
I'm sure it's what Kazuma-sama would have wanted. Its name is Karuma. It's a great sword that's been in the Asugi clan for generations.
Very well, I accept. I treasure it always. So then, Miss Susato, we will be working together for some time to come yet.
It will be an honor, Mr. Naruhodo. And for the next 40 days, I shan't grant you a single minute of freedom. We shall fill every spare moment with study.
Yes, that's exactly what I need.
But before we begin, I have an earnest favor to ask of you too.
Goodness, what is it?
Please throw me to the ground.
3 times! What?
I should never have doubted you. You were Kazuma-sama's closest friend. Of course, you would never have done anything to hurt him. That should have been obvious to me from the start. But I allowed suspicion to get the better of me. And no matter how upset I was feeling, it was completely unforgivable behavior.
No, you were in shock. You just found out about me stowing away, and the cabin door was locked on the inside.
No! I won't let you make excuses for me. Whatever the circumstances, I should never have thrown you. Not just once, but 5 times.
That number keeps creeping up, doesn't it?
Please, you must. Just take hold of me and throw me. Do it. Don't even think about it.
No. I don't even know how. I've never thrown anyone in my life. Hey, wise, Mr. Naruhodo. It isn't a skill one acquires without considerable training.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes.
I observed your throwing technique several times with great interest. I confess I was most impressed. When did he see that?
I presume that would be a form of Japanese wrestling. Oh, well, in a way. It's not wrestling, but my own interpretation of an ancient jujutsu technique.
Apparently it's called the Susato takedown. Leaves your head swimming, believe me. Not beguiling. I am a practitioner of the combative art myself. I am a somewhat accomplished boxer. There he goes, dancing around again. Wonder if you'd be so kind as to instruct me on the technique of your arresting throw.
Yes, I'd be honored.
Then let us not dally. Demonstrate, my dear madam.
Oh, of course.
She's gonna throw me, isn't she?
Are you ready, Mr. Naruhodo?
Sorry.
As you can see, you throw from the abdomen.
Oh yes, arresting indeed.
That is what you term the Susato takedown, is it? Actually, no. That was a Susato squash.
In my groggy state of consciousness, a scene from an evening recently spent with Kazuma flickered into my mind. I know we're way over time, but I just want to get this wrapped up. Karuma? That's right. It's a prized sword that's been passed down through generations of the Asugi clan. I can't believe you managed to get permission to bring it with you. I mean, taking a katana on a study tour is more than a little irregular, surely. Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryunosuke. Can't be parted from my katana. Karuma guides me. I truly believe that. Its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two. Not that you would need much compelling. on that subject. There's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain. I'll sacrifice anything to make it happen. I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down. An important thing he had to do. Still don't know what that was. But I'm gonna see the place for myself and work it out. Great Britain's capital, London. The end. That was really cool, having an investigation that actually didn't end in a trial. That is so neat. That is really cool. I like that a lot. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I went about a half an hour over just on that epilogue stuff. So, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. I hope you'll watch the next one as well.